All right. Welcome to the show. Let's get this party started. We're starting early because that's what I do. I get on way before the show's supposed to start because I never know when I'm going to start. So we're starting now. Because in the Ginger Kingdom, that's what we do. Oh, top chat. We're always in top chat. What's happening, Reverend? What's happening, Grey Pill? Oh, all the important moderators are here. Oh, where's Bucket? We need Bucket. Well, Bucket's not going to be here anymore. Bucket, you will be missed. Oh, yeah. Happy Thanksgiving or Turkey Day. I call it Turkey Day. We need to come up with some new holidays. I'm just going to be honest with you. We need new holidays. These holidays are kind of whack. Hold on. Make sure I cover up my branding. These holidays are kind of whack. They are. Having to explain to people, like fireworks day is still okay, but it's like can't shoot off fireworks anymore because they catch stuff on fire. So it's like, I mean, we could move to drones. I like the drone stuff. The drone stuff is cool. We could move to that. 4th of July, still a pretty good holiday. Christmas, let's just call it what it is. Give shit to people day. Meat shoveling in the mouth day is also a good day. I like to call it turkey and beer day. I don't have to explain what we're actually celebrating. I just think there's these holidays are kind of whack. And as we get further and further into explaining how the left has lost its audience, I think one of the things that we need to discuss is that younger people want different holidays. It's such an old and boring holiday. It just really speaks to who we are as the older generation. We're like, we get together and we eat the potatoes and we celebrate America. We already do that on July 4th. We celebrate America again. Like we have no imagination. Can we start a holiday where it's like rave style? Because raves are dope. I've never been to one. I've just seen them. But it's like fucking colors and flashing lights and loud music. That's more about this generation. This younger generation. I'm just saying, like, our holidays are kind of boring. We need to have better holidays. What's happening, Ichabod? Anyways, thought I'd get on here before Turkey Day. I know you guys, I'm not streaming as much. We're only streaming twice now. But I swear to you, and also there's not like videos coming out every day, but I swear to you, I've been using my time wisely. And I'm finishing up a video that I just made. These videos take me much longer than they do other content creators because I have a full-time job. So I've been spending every day when I get home working on my new video about oligarchy through the eyes of Theodore Roosevelt and Aristotle. And I think it's going to be a pretty good video. It's just me narrating, and then it's more like production value. Like I've said before, like I can get on here and just like make the videos I've been making about like, wow, isn't this person crazy? Isn't the stuff they do crazy? And it gets views and stuff. And I know that that's what YouTube's about, is getting the views, but I kind of want to do something more, right? Like I want to do something that like actually is like creative, and it feels like, my time is being used wisely, as my time is valuable. So I know I haven't been putting out videos every day. So for those of you that haven't been seeing my stuff, I apologize, but I think that it'll pay off. This video, first draft, is done. We're working on getting it out probably this Sunday. It's not a long video. It's only about 8.5 minutes. But it's on the potentials of oligarchy, and also discussing something that I think is very, very important, because it's something I don't think a lot of people know about. And it kind of mentions, it doesn't go full into it. We'll make another video that goes full into it. But techno-libertarianism, which is a way too big of a word. They need to cut that shit down. But it is what Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, and probably even like the Jeff Bezos of the world and the Bill Gates of the world, it's their, what they think is going to happen, or they want to happen for society, specifically American society in the future. And, the video mentions a little bit about that and how oligarchy could lend towards the techno-libertarianism of people like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. So I hope you guys like it. You guys should check it out when it comes out Sunday. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the 5 memberships, Alan. You are the best, dude. Thank you so much. What's happening, Nathan? What's happening, Jay? What's happening, Mike? What's happening, Alan? What's happening, Ichabod? So anyways, yeah, like I just wanted to explain a little bit of why I haven't been, why I cut the streaming schedule down to 2, and why we're not putting out videos every day is I just want to do stuff that seems like it has like more meaning behind it than just getting on here and being like, like DJ said the other day, it's like a lot of the content is just like, wow, look at what this person did. And I think I can save that mostly for the live streams, and I'll still do those short videos. But I want to spend a little more time making videos that have some production involved, that are a little more interesting and creative, and also have a bit of a shelf life, or more of a shelf life. Because I think a lot of the videos that I make have really short shelf lives. That's why I privated a lot of my older stuff, because it's like it's kind of whack to like always have these like videos that like it's like, oh, Trump said this, fucking a year and a half ago. I wanted to instead be a little bit fresher and like give you guys value for the time you're spending. Like my time is valuable, so is yours. I want you guys to see like stuff that actually, means something to you. So this video that I'm making, that is in the first draft is done, is about oligarchy and how we're leaning into oligarchy by putting people like Elon Musk and Donald Trump in charge of our governmental systems. And what potentially those people are looking to do with the power that they have in the future, because I think that's something that like is getting talked about a little bit in like socialist circles and maybe some progressive circles, but not a lot. And I don't think like a lot of people even know what techno-libertarianism is. Thanks on the congrats on the 22K subs, and congrats to all the new members. America has effectively been an oligarchy for a long time. Yeah. I agree with that, but I don't know that it's been accepted for a long time. And, to be honest with you, Perry, what I've been hearing, and we'll watch a little Kyle Kalinske in a minute, but what I've been hearing lately from certain, like, more progressive people, like the Kyle Kalinskes and the Mike from the Humanist Report, is you're hearing more of this dissatisfaction from like younger people and progressive content creators about the fact that the left seems enamored right now with attempting to bring in like these ultra rich right wing conservative voters that are disenfranchised from Donald Trump. And I think it was Kyle Kalinske even that was saying that Chuck Schumer said something like, well, for every like couple like progressive people we're gaining, a rich conservative, which I think is complete and utter bullshit. But I think that really speaks volumes as to what the left's mentality is right now. And I think it's the wrong thing to do. There's a really good video from Kyle Kalinske talking about it. I can't remember what the name of it is right now. But about how the left seems to be stuck in this rut of we've got to really try to bring over these right-wing people over to our side, and we've got to really reach out, and it's like they're not leaning in enough into their own stuff, and it's starting to disenfranchise the left even more and more. So what I'm saying is that I think that yes, it's been an oligarchy obviously for a pretty long time, but it's becoming more overt by the day, and I think that's because the left is embracing or not, they've always embraced it. Okay, let me put it this way. Let me start over. I think the left has always embraced the money from their donors, obviously, and that they've always accepted it as being something like, oh, this is the only way that we can compete. But I think even more now than ever before, they're like out up front with it and saying like, yeah, we do, because they're trying to bring more of those people in. More of the people that are accepting of, the billionaires lobbying and such. And we talk a little bit about Citizens United in the video that I made, and a little bit about, how dark money has influenced our politics since Citizens United. But I think that that's a huge problem with the left right now is they're embracing of the fact that it's an oligarchy, because I think I'd always felt as though even if they were behind the scenes accepting this money, at least they were presenting a facade of pushing back against it. And I think that since Bernie lost in 2016 has really been something that the left has kind of given up on. Like, it's almost like when Bernie almost won, they did the exact opposite of what they should do. It's like Bernie almost won, and instead of saying like, wow, I think a lot of people in our party agree with Bernie and Bernie's opinion, so maybe we should lean harder into that, it feels like instead they leaned away from it. And that's insane to me. It really is. What's happening, Diane? How's it going, Diane? I did check out your music stream the other day a little bit while I was doing some editing. What's happening, Janelle? Congrats on the membership. So yeah, I think that this is one of those things that's just for the left. The reason I made the video on oligarchy was because I can't help but feel as though the left, and this is something that my MAGA supporter, right-wing conspiracy theorist friend or two have said, like, oh, the left, they're full of shit, and I think that's why they ended up going MAGA, is because they felt the same way, because a lot of these people are ex-Bernie supporters. So I think it's something that needs to be called out, but I think it needs to be called out in a proper way. And so the video I made was in an attempt to be a little more educational, but also at the same time to, like I point out Bezos. Bezos is part of that problem. You can't. I think Bill Gates does a lot of good things. I know that the right and the conspiracy theorists have some real stigmatizations of Bill Gates that I don't agree with, but I also understand that Bill Gates is a billionaire and he does influence our politics, and I don't like that. So, like, this is what oftentimes puts me in a really strange place with both political parties, is that I am unwilling to lean into the conspiracy theories of the right with Bill Gates and being a billionaire, yet at the same time, I do recognize Bill Gates' influence on politics and stuff through monetary means, and how I find that to be unacceptable, because I'm against Citizens United, I'm against dark money, I'm against super PACs and big lobbyists that are affecting our country. So I think that sometimes that leaves me in a very strange place where I tend to argue with both sides, and yet am not a centrist. Thanks, Christopher. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to do things that have a little more meaning. So, I think maybe I'm trying to do something that's probably the opposite of what people on YouTube usually do, and that is there's a lot of gamers that then lean into politics, and they bring their gamer crowd with them, and tend to, espouse political opinions that I think are really, like, uneducated. I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to maybe lean out of my politics and into, like, the live streams being a little bit more fun. So maybe we'll try to have either another channel that's gaming, and you guys can pop in if you guys miss me and just want to talk, and we can watch some videos while we play a game, or maybe we'll just have gaming streams. Dusty Smith, who is it, Talia or Tia, that is always telling me about Dusty Smith. I see other content creators doing this type of, like, crossover stuff. So I think we'll try and move more towards that. Some more, casual live streams where people can enjoy their time and not just focus on politics, and then have videos that are a little more educational and videos that are a little more well thought out than just popping on and being like, Joe Rogan's an idiot. Look at this. You save that for these types. Desi's a good man. I like him. I think he's pretty awesome. What's happening, Owen? So yeah, thank you, moms. Don't forget to hit the like button, please. That's really what I want to do with the channel moving forward. And as I've said before, I'm still in, like, my infant stages with this channel, and I'm glad I have 22,000 subscribers. And I'm glad that you guys are all here and you show up and watch these live streams. And I always want to give you guys value for what we're doing. So I want to make it as organic as possible and add value as strongly as I can to the channel. So anyways, we got a lot to get to today. What's up, Cypher? I like the new name. It's a little easier for me to say. I do not live in Philadelphia. I am an Eagles fan from California. I can't get my Randall Cunningham poster or picture is way far away from me now. I changed stuff around. Manic, thank you for being here. All right, so what do we got? We got Coach D talking some shit about Joe Rogan. I thought that was pretty awesome, so we'll be watching that. We got Nick Fuentes fucking around and finding out. We got Legia talking about Linda McMahon being our new Secretary of Education. Like, I keep saying that Idiocracy was a documentary, and I mean it half-ass in jest, but as in all jokes, there's a truth to everything. And when Linda McMahon gets made the Secretary of Education, I think we are well on our way to potentially being Idiocracy. I think that we're on our way. Also, Legia Miller. Look at the bling. Legia with the bling. That's all gold. So much gold. Here, this is a video I think I probably want to start with, to be honest with you, and it's probably going to take up my entire video, but I want to watch this. This is Tim Miller talking to some Gen Z about how tired they are of people ass-kissing the elites. And, you know, I feel that shit. Like, I understand that if people right now feel disenfranchised, if people right now feel upset with the left over their embracing of the, you know, elites, the billionaires, the corporate interests, I'm 100% with you. I feel you. I understand where you're coming from. I get the anger and I get the frustration, because the more I watch left-wing pundits go on TV and talk about how the left just didn't reach hard enough across the aisle, they just didn't appeal to the conservatives enough, the more I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. And I think it was Jon Stewart that was just absolutely shitting all over the left for doing that the other night. And it was so pertinent. He did such a good job talking about it, as Jon Stewart often does. And, you know, I'm the person that constantly says, no, we don't need Jon Stewart to be running for president because we don't need, you know, a commentator or, you know, a comedian running for president. But to be honest with you, we're at a point in our society with our politics where Jon Stewart or somebody like Jon Stewart might be the only chance that people that want to see good things done in this country have, to be honest with you. Because when you talk about the people on the left right now that people want to run, whether it's Mayor Pete or it's, you know, Gavin Newsom or it's AOC, like almost every single person that you bring up has some type of issue with being capable of being charismatic enough to drive people out to vote. And whether or not we like it or not, Donald Trump did that with his base, and he did it by leaning into his extremism and being an asshole and just being like, yeah, I don't give a shit. Like, call me on the things I say. I'll tell you I say them. I don't care. Or I tell you I don't say them, and then you can show me a video, and I'll be like, I don't say that. You know, so, you know, we start to get to a point where we have to, like, recognize that and say to ourselves, okay, maybe it is somebody like Jon Stewart that ends up running for the left, because maybe that's the only person that this society is willing to back. They need someone that can tell jokes standing on stage. They don't want that manager. They don't want the person that's going to just talk about policy. They want somebody that's fun, somebody that's charismatic. And, you know, if I had my way, people would vote on the best person for the job, but it doesn't seem like that's what America wants, to be honest with you. We didn't pierce the bubble. We bounced right off it. Yeah, exactly. We tried it. We tried it, right? We tried to go into Beans. You're a fucking moron. Welcome to the chat, Beans. Beans is a moron. Remind Beans that he's a moron, people. Beans, I said before the fucking election, you absolute goddamn dipshit, that it was 50-50 the whole time. But do please come into my chat and start talking like you actually fucking know something. Jesus fucking Christ. You gotta, the one thing that'll never stop about this channel is me telling these fucking morons they're morons. There will never be a time where I will allow a left-wing person to come in here and go, this is why they didn't vote for us. I don't give a shit. I literally said for fucking months it was 50-50. Guess what it was? 50-fucking-50, you moron. What happened to your mandate, bro? Oh, I love these people. Anyways, here's Adam Mockler explaining to people like Beans what tariffs are. Oh, it's the best. It's the best. I'm just gassing you up, bro. I'm just gassing you up. You get that shit? Are you smart enough to get that one, Beans? Probably not. All right. So anyways, let's watch. Let's check out some videos. Let's laugh at some Trump supporters, because that's what we do. And let's have a good time. It's fucking good time. Donnie's AG is coming for your guns. That would be fucking hilarious. What's happening, Benny? I watched some of your desert clips the other day too, Benny. You're down in one of the places I grew up in, the fucking Slab City. So yeah, that was good times. Thanks for the videos. I pop into your guys' stuff. I'm usually working, so I don't get to chat and stuff. But I do pop in and watch all your guys' stuff. Diane, Benny, all of you guys out there that also do your thing. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. So let's watch it. Let's actually, you know what? Let's start with Coach D talking shit to Joe Rogan. Let's start with that one. This one was pretty good. So I watched the first few seconds and it looked like it was pretty fucking fire. So we're gonna watch. Let's watch Coach D here make fun of Joe Rogan's dumbass.
When I'm Coach D and
oh, hold on, drink. We did everything but put the headphones in. There we go.
My God, people like Joe Rogan continue to prove that just because you've somehow amassed millions of followers doesn't mean people should listen to what you
It's because it's a million beans.
have to say. This guy with the IQ of a potato is talking about the conflict between Russia and the Ukraine, and it's obvious.
Oh, that's the worst video. Dude, if you've watched, I wonder if he's going to play it. If you haven't seen the video of Joe Rogan talking to, I can't remember who the guest is, but Rogan's the guy now where, like, at any party, he's going to bring up some shit that you really don't want to talk about, but he's not going to stop talking about it, even if you like, tell him you don't care. Like, the guest is, like, the dude's a moron that's also on the show at the time, but even he's like, yeah, bro, I don't really do politics. And Rogan's like, but do you understand how bad this is? And he's like, yeah, dude, you know, I don't really talk about this stuff. It's not really my lane, my wheelhouse. And Rogan's like, it's absolutely nuts. It's absolutely, we're all going to die. And once again, you can see, like, that's what these people operate off of. They operate off of being afraid. Donald Trump has gaslit these motherfuckers so goddamn hard that they're all going to die if he's not the president of the United States, and they all fell for it so fucking hard, dude.
He just doesn't get it.
I feel safer.
Yeah, it is him.
Knowing that Trump is in office.
I do too.
I feel great about it. Like, I just like.
What I don't feel safer is right now they're launching missiles into Russia.
Yeah.
How are you allowed to do that when you're on the way out?
This is the dumbest fucking take by Joe Rogan. How are you allowed to do that? Can Joe Rogan math? Of course not. As soon as you become a Trump supporter, I think you lose your ability to count. So I know Joe's probably got all his fingers and toes. He should use all of his fingers and toes to figure out how many days 4 years are. Because when you elect a person, you elect them for 4 years. You don't elect them for 3 years and 10 months. This is why, like, as much as, like, I used to defend Joe Rogan years ago, now I can't defend him at all. Because he says some of the dumbest shit you have ever heard a human being say. And we've heard human beings on this channel say some of the wildest, craziest, stupidest shit. And yet Joe Rogan is finding a way nowadays to top it all. How are you allowed to do it? You're elected for 4 years. If people were to say, in Donald Trump's last 2 months in office, if they were to say, let's make it so Donald Trump can't do anything for the last 2 months because somebody else has been voted in, therefore he shouldn't be able to do anything else, they would lose their goddamn minds. They would cry incessantly, like the little bitches they are, like they did for 4 fucking years, about the fact that Donald Trump wasn't allowed his last 2 months to do things. The idea that Joe Rogan is about to espouse is that a president shouldn't be allowed for the last 2 months that he was elected to by the American people to be allowed to do anything with the presidential powers.
Like the
Jesus
people don't
Christ.
want you to be there anymore. There should be like some sort of a pause for like significant actions that could potentially start World War III. Maybe that would be a good thing that we would like to avoid from a dying former president.
And that's another thing too. It's all such bonehead, meathead shit. Like, I'm just going to keep repeating that Joe Biden is dying. Like, forget the fact that Joe Biden, like, in the last 6 months, after, like, or sorry, not last 6 months, after the last 2 months, 3 months after he bowed out, he's still been bringing in fucking justices. He's still been bringing home people from Russia. He's still been doing the job of the president of the United States. But meathead ass Joe Rogan is going to just sit up here and be like, yeah, dude, like, he's dying. He hasn't done anything this whole time. It's because you're a fucking moron. You get high all the goddamn time, sit in front of your computer, click on videos of supposed transgender people entering people's bathrooms, and then Jamie has to tell your dumbass that you got faked out again, bro. Again. But dude, please talk more about how Joe Biden is dying. Holy fuck. Joe Rogan is dumb. I swear to God, it's like this culture has changed so much to a point from where I used to be with it. Okay, I used to be like, let's legalize weed because everybody should smoke weed. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And then somebody would say something like, yeah, it cures cancer. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true, but you know what? Fuck it. I say legalize it. And now I'm getting to a point where I'm like, I don't know, should we legalize it? Because these fucking people that I used to agree with that still smoke all the goddamn time seem to be getting dumber and fucking dumber by the day. I am pretty sure that this correlates. They're making me go against my own values now. But it's like, you got fucking Elon on ketamine all the time. You got Joe Rogan willing to fucking take whatever. And then he says dumb shit like this. And I'm like, I don't know. Now I'm questioning whether or not I'm pro legalization.
The whole thing is nuts.
Christ.
Oh, I feel so much more safer now that Donald Trump has been elected.
Exactly. That's the dumbest shit ever. And I've said it before, all it really means, like, Putin is literally right now pushing harder in Russia than he has ever pushed before. Putin's guy just came out and said there's no way we are freezing the line where it is, and there's no way that we're giving back the fucking, the stuff that we've annexed already. The only thing that Donald Trump is going to accomplish in the war on Ukraine is fucking Ukrainians over, which fucks Americans over. Because I know this is too many words for Trump supporters. But if Putin wins, America loses. I hope I distilled that down far enough for you guys. I know I should probably throw in brown people bad, just so that way you guys feel comfortable with what I'm saying.
First of all, if Joe Biden stopped working, the first thing Joe Rogan and this other potato would do is go on his dumb podcast and say, where's Joe Biden? Why is he not working? Why is he asleep at the wheel?
What's happening, Mythos?
And then
Welcome
he
to the
says,
stream.
they're shooting missiles into Russia. Russia invaded them. They are...
Yeah, and who pointed that? I think it's Adam Mockler pointed it out. It's like, so Russia can just like fucking murder Ukrainians en masse. Nothing. No empathy. No, just quiet. And then Ukraine's like, oh, I shot a missile. One missile into Russia. And Joe Rogan's fucking balls just shrivel up and suck up inside of him, and he's like, why we can't do that? Why is Joe Biden doing that? Is this the same fucking Joe Rogan from like 5 years ago, 6 years? I'm going to start using Trump supporter conspiracy theories against them. Maybe Joe Rogan is a body double.
Are defending themselves, which they have every right to do as a nation.
Holy
but you
shit.
two go on.
I mean, look, I don't know shit about politics.
It's got to be the
Stop
steroids,
there.
right, Benny? There.
You don't.
There we go. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I was saying. This is where the dude's kind of like, he's like,
You two go on.
he's like, bro, I don't want to do
Look,
this.
I don't know shit about politics.
He's like literally trying to get out of it. This is the Joe Rogan podcast in a nutshell nowadays. Joe Rogan cries about COVID. Joe Rogan cries about Democrats. And his guests go, can we talk about what I do? Can we talk about my upcoming movie? My book? Do we have to talk about this?
Stop right there. You don't know shit about politics. We all know that. So stop talking about it. Because you know what? The guy hosting the show, he doesn't know shit about politics either.
He might
so
not
why
have
are
tested
either of
those
you
anymore,
talking
Mythos.
about it? How about talking about the UFC or something? Because that's all.
That's what I'm saying. Like, or how about this? How about this? This is like what Rogan used to do. How about this? Back when I used to watch Rogan, you want to know why I watched Rogan? It's not because I thought Rogan knew something about fucking physics. It's because he brought Brian Cox on, a physicist, and was like, hey, I wanted to know some stuff about physics. Can you explain it to me? And then Brian Cox would be like, yeah, stars are big. They explode. They do shit. And Joe Rogan would go, cool. Whoa, have you ever done DMT? Literally, that was what made the show good. Brian Cox would be like, we're made out of stardust. And Joe Rogan would be, fuck, we're made out of stardust? Like the stuff that stars are made out of? And Brian Cox would be like, yeah, that's crazy, right? And he'd be like, have you ever done DMT? Like, that's the whole fucking reason people watch the show. That's the whole fucking reason he has 100 million followers. And now the show is literally Joe Rogan bringing on comedians and fighters and going, do you know anything about COVID? No, they don't know anything about COVID, Joe. They've been hit in the head like 47,000 fucking times. They've been choked into unconsciousness for fun. They don't know anything about vaccines, bro.
All he knows.
I mean, look, I don't know shit about politics. I'm not
Zelensky
gonna
says
pretend
Putin
to.
is terrified. Fuck you, man.
Why is everyone spiraling over YouTube banning ad blockers? Like, chill,
Why?
guys, just use Pi. It's a free Chrome extension.
I need to
that-
get pie.
You people. You f***ing people are about to start World War III.
Fuck you people. You're about to start World War III. This is Joe Rogan drives me nuts. It's like, bro, you understand that if Vladimir Putin wants to start World War III, he will. Donald Trump's not going to stop him. Joe Biden isn't going to stop him. Kamala Harris wasn't going to stop him. If China and Russia and Iran and North Korea want to get together and start World War III, there is absolutely no amount of talking that's going to stop them from doing that. China is declining. Russia is declining. Iran has been Iran for a really fucking long time, and so has North Korea. And we can get into talking about why they are what they are now, and how some of that is because of America's interference. But this idea that if America just insulated itself, all of this stuff wouldn't be happening. Oh yeah, if America just built a wall around itself, all this stuff would stop. No, you know what would happen? Russia would fucking have Belarus. Russia would have the Ukraine. Russia would have anything they fucking wanted. Russia would own Poland right now. That's what would happen if America built a wall around itself. And you know what would eventually happen? Russia would come knocking on America's door. Because we've been sitting here with our gigantic wall around ourselves, jerking off to our own pride and being like, we're so amazing, not paying attention to what goes on in the rest of the fucking world. For the love of Christ, I heard Rand Paul talking about us being a global economy the other day. The anti-globalist guys even recognize the need for us to participate. in a global economy. But Joe Rogan's thick-ass monkey skull can't get it through that if Ukraine's allowed to defend itself, it's going to start World War III? No! Russia's starting World War III, not Ukraine, dog!
Isn't it funny that insane. The same people who are always talking about, you're not going to take my guns, you want my guns, you're going to have to take it from my cold, dead hands.
Exactly.
You're going to take my guns because this tyrannical government gets tyrannical, now I'm going to take up my guns against them, are the same people who are saying that Ukraine should not be protecting themselves, should not be defending themselves. Joe Rogan is mad because Zelensky said that Putin is afraid of them, that Putin is on his heels right now.
Yeah, which he is. That's the whole, that's somebody earlier said, it was talking about the boxer. So Vitaly and Vladimir Klitschko are two of the best boxers of all time. One of the legends of heavyweights. They weren't my favorite boxers, a little too defensive for me, but they are. They're technically two of the best boxers of all time. One of them is the mayor of Kiev, I believe, and the other one is in the armed forces. I think he's maybe like occupies some kind of post in the military, like an honorary post. So I think it was Vladimir. I always get them mixed up. I think they're twins. Are they twins or just brothers that look exactly alike? Anyways, I think it's Vladimir called him out and said, "You're playing into Russian propaganda." Putin, the only thing Putin has right now is the fear of the West. If Putin can scare America enough, they tell Ukraine to stop. Ukraine doesn't shoot missiles into Russia, which Russia's having an extremely hard time defending itself against right now. Because right now, Russia is collapsing. Russia is having an incredibly hard time. There are plenty of people out there that are experts that believe that the only reason that Russia invaded Ukraine when it did was because their populace is so old that they are running out of people to put in the military. Their young people don't want to join the military. They're having to draft them into the military. Their older people that are super nationalistic don't want anything to do with dying. They want to just be left in their homes and be left alone. So their military is absolute garbage right now. They're poorly trained and they're understaffed. And we are playing into Russia's hands when we go, Ukraine can't shoot missiles back. No, they have them on their heels. As fucking crazy as it sounds, Russia is afraid that Ukraine can't just roll through Russia and take over Russia right now, but they can cause enough harm within Russia to make the populace actually revolt back against the government. That's what Putin's scared of. And like, Vladimir said, I'll come on your show and I'll talk to you about it. And Joe Rogan literally on X said, is this real? Should I even allow this to happen? How much of a pussy has Joe Rogan became that he has went from I'll bring anybody on my show and talk to him about anything to now he's asking people on X whether or not he should bring on a dude who's calling him out for his bullshit. What is happening in this reality right now?
Joe Rogan is mad that a country has said, you know what? You don't just get to invade us. You don't get to take what's ours. You don't get to take our land. You don't get to hurt our people. We're going to defend ourselves from that. That's what Joe Rogan is mad about.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Russia fired a missile today.
I feel like they fired an intercontinental ballistic missile for the first time ever.
It was not the first time ever. The missile that they shot was the first time it had, but not an ICBM. No, it wasn't the first time ever that an ICBM had been shot off by Russia. It was the first time the missile that they tested had been shot off. This is why, Joe Rogan shouldn't be talking about shit like this, is because he knows just enough to make him dangerous. Just enough. This is the problem with society nowadays, is knowing just enough about it. So to Joe Rogan, it's like, he hears something like this, and he's like, oh my fucking God, this is a first. They did this crazy thing that had never happened before. No, they've done it before, you dipshit.
It's the first time one of those has ever been used.
That's insanity.
I like how the person off to the side who said Russia fired a missile today was trying to tell Joe Rogan, hey, Russia's bad here, not the Ukraine.
What's happening, Adam?
And I like how the potato who admitted he knows nothing about politics said, that's insanity. Millions of
yeah, but that dude doesn't want to be there. Look, as much as I think the guy that's on the show is probably an idiot as well, The guy that he's just doing what any retail worker would do. If you've ever worked in retail and you've had to work a register and you've had a person standing in front of you that's like telling you some shit, you usually go, oh, that's crazy. Wow, that's weird. Man, that sucks. That's literally what he's doing to Rogan right here, is because he doesn't want to talk about this. He probably came on this show to talk about a fucking album or something. And instead he's talking about the fucking Ukraine war because, like I said, Joe Rogan has become that friend of yours that can't help himself. He has to talk about this shit. Like when I go to, well, not that I get to go to parties anymore. I'm too old. But when I go and I hang out with people, like a buddy of mine, we were watching a UFC event. We were watching it, and it was before the election. And he brought up the election and brought up like possibly voting for Kamala. And he asked me something about it. And I said, well, this is what I think about it, but let's not talk about that too much because I didn't want to ruin what we were doing. We were participating in the moment. We were watching a UFC. I wanted it to be about hanging out. I wanted it to be about having fun with my friends. I didn't want to dominate the conversation for the next 2 hours talking about whether or not I think Kamala is the best candidate to be the president of the United States of America. So I went, hey, this is what I actually think about it, but let's not get too much into that and let's move on. Joe Rogan doesn't have that anymore. This is all Joe Rogan talks about all the goddamn time now.
And people are about to start World War III.
Isn't it funny that the same people who are always talking about, you're not going to take my guns, you want my guns, you're going to have to take it from my cold, dead hands. You're not going to take my guns because this tyrannical government gets tyrannical, now I'm going to take up my guns against them, are the same people who are saying that Ukraine should not be protecting themselves, should not be defending themselves.
You know, part of it, though, like, one thing I will say is I think that a lot of the actual, like, intellectual people that Rogan used to talk to don't want to talk to him anymore. He said that. He said that about, he's like, yeah, ever since COVID, there's a lot of people that don't want to talk to me. And he's like, good, I don't care. Like, I think sometimes you have to have enough self-awareness that if, like, some of the smartest fucking people in the world don't want to talk to you anymore, that you might have made a mistake. I've said this, I've talked about this a little bit before, and that was last time I saw Jonathan Haidt, who I like. Once again, this is somebody that, like, a lot of people on the left will disagree with me. They'll disagree with me on Steven Pinker and Jonathan Haidt because they're social psychologists, and social psychologists kind of run this area that kind of offends people on the left sometimes. Talking about the differences in brain makeup between men and women, difference in like pattern recognition between men and women. Those kind of things kind of piss off some people on the left. I like hearing Jonathan Haidt speak. One of the reasons I really like Jonathan Haidt is because he speaks his mind. Last time he was on the Rogan podcast, he literally was like arguing with Rogan while trying to keep things civil and be like, hey, why don't we just not talk about this? Let's talk about something else. And Rogan couldn't help himself. He kept just hammering the same fucking thing. And Haidt's like, let's just move on to something else.
Joe Rogan is mad because Zelensky said
you should check out Jonathan Haidt, Adam. You probably like him. Steven Pinker's dope, but he's a little bit pedantic.
Putin is on his heels right now. Joe Rogan is mad that a country has said, you know what? You don't just get to invade us. You don't get to take what's ours. You don't.
Dude, and fuck Putin. How did we get into this area now where we're like, I mean, I get it. Once again, I know. Never mind. Sorry. Why even ask a question? It's a rhetorical question. The question would be, how did we get into this instance now where all of a sudden we want to befriend Putin? All of a sudden we want to act like he's just another guy. Hey, he's just out there just trying to run his country. The reason is fear. Once again, Trump has convinced Americans to be so fucking afraid of Putin that you're just like, he's pretty much our buddy. It's like when you get bullied too much. And instead of like standing up against the bully, now you're trying to make friends with the bully. Is you're like, hey, I know you took my lunch money. Hey, got another couple bucks for you. Got a couple more. You want a cookie? I'll buy you a cookie at lunch. This is what it feels like. It feels like we've gone from understanding that Putin is a dictator that literally rigs his own fucking election so that way he wins. He's a tyrant. He's a guy who fucking idolizes Joseph Stalin, who is the grandfather of Stalinism, the father of Stalinism, which is communism. We've gone from fucking like being like, that's bad, to being so goddamn afraid of Putin that now we're literally the country that's bullied for our lunch money, and we're like, he's not that bad of a guy. He's actually kind of cool. I don't know if you guys know it, but Putin's actually a good guy now. Like, it's fucking crazy.
You don't get to take our land. You don't get to hurt our people. We're going to defend ourselves from that.
This time, like, does
That's
suck.
what Joe Rogan is mad about.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Russia fired a missile today.
I feel like
they fired an intercontinental ballistic.
Yeah, Perry, when you're bringing in North Korean troops to fucking to bolster your forces, that's like you fucking got soldiers off a Wish. Like, nobody else is like, it's not like there was a fucking bidding war for North Korean soldiers. Nobody was out there like, yo, you know, like, we try to get a hold of those North Korean soldiers, but they're in high demand right now. Like, if you bring North Korean soldiers in to fight with your army, it probably is a net negative. God damn it. Yeah, it's been a long time, Apex. Appreciate seeing you here. This is the No Kid Left Behind era.
Missile for the first time ever.
Probably right.
It's the first time one of those has ever been used.
Apex.
it's insanity.
I like how the person off to the side who said Russia fired a missile
it's not like he sent his
was
best
trying
soldiers,
to tell
right,
Joe Rogan,
Apex?
hey, Russia's bad here, not the Ukraine. And I like how the potato who admitted he knows nothing about politics said, that's insanity. But this next part shows you exactly where Joe Rogan's loyalties lie and just how much he does not know what the hell he's talking about.
It's fucking insanity because those intercontinental ballistic missiles can have nukes on them. This one didn't, but if it does, the whole world.
And see, yeah, that's. Did Joe Rogan just catch up? Does Joe Rogan know that these fucking missiles have existed for a really fucking long time? Does Joe Rogan know that North Korea hates us more than any fucking country in the world? And that is saying something, okay? They hate us more than MAGA does. Does he know that other countries are constantly testing these missiles out? This is nothing new, Joe. Except for this time, they got to use it on Ukrainians, on living people. That's the only difference.
It changes, and it changes because of the military-industrial complex, and it changes because of the money that's going to Ukraine, and it changes because the outgoing president or whoever.
Do I think that we should lose soldiers in Russia? Yeah, I believe that if it got to a point where Russia was pushing hard enough, because look, do you guys not remember World War II? Does anybody remember how people reacted to Adolf Hitler? Literally, Adolf Hitler was like, I'm going to take Poland. And we were like, yeah, you know, not a big deal. Hitler was like, I think I'm going to take some of this too. And we were like, yeah, you know, not a big deal. Fucking Britain was like, you know what? Actually, big deal. That's not cool. We're going to stop you. Eventually, we did get involved. Why did we get involved? Because people like Hitler, like Putin, don't stop with just taking one or two little places. Like the Belarusians, who are actually friends with Russia, hate Russia and do not want to become part of Russia. If Russia takes countries that want nothing to do with them and makes them theirs, by the way, Russia believes Kiev is the motherland, the cradle of Russia. It is Russia's main goal to reintegrate these places back inside. Yes, every one of these countries have some type of significance to America. Yeah, if it takes putting boots on the fucking ground, I'm for that, because this is a global competition and it's something that Americans can't wrap their fucking mind around. It is a global competition between every single country in this world. There are people that we are going to create alliances with and have trades with, and those people are our allies, and if we don't defend them, they will not be our allies. And then there are people that are our adversaries or our competition. And we are constantly playing this game, both with our military and with our trade agreements and with sanctions, to attempt to keep their power from growing, because if their power grows to a large enough size, they will be invading us instead. This is like what Americans can never fucking wrap their mind around, because we are entitled, because we are spoiled. We're literally talking about putting tariffs on Canada and Mexico. And people are worried about a war in Ukraine being bad? You want to piss off two people directly on our fucking borders, but we're concerned about what's going on in Ukraine? None of it makes sense. Belarus, but Belarusians are not puppets. Belarus might be a puppet state. Belarusians are not. Well, America created the competition. Well, actually, TSG, I disagree with that too. That's that fucking goddamn both sides bullshit again. God damn it, TSG. If you think America created the global competition, do you think the global competition started 250 years ago? Britain started it.
Whoever the fuck is actually running the country has decided to do something fucking insane.
Yeah,
fucking insane. And we're all sitting there watching it, and people are cheering it on. CNN was saying, like...
No one, and this is the other thing. No one's cheering it on. People are supporting other people. They're cheering it on. They're not cheering it on. This is the exaggeration that these fucks use to convince people. This is the same shit with abortion. This is like when they're like, yeah, they're just out there, they're celebrating these women having it. No one's celebrating it. No one wants Ukrainians to die, and nobody wants just Russian troops to die. The enemy isn't the Russian people. The enemy is the dictator that is literally using them as fodder. That is the enemy.
Finally.
No, it's because Putin is a bully, and damn right we're cheering it on.
This is what happens
we're
when I have like 4 days between
getting to defend themselves against a bully and a dictator who the guy you voted for absolutely worships.
See what their headline was about.
I'm not European, I'm
Zelensky
Irish.
using about Biden giving Zelensky the ability to use long-range missiles. U.S. made long-range. It's not like nobody knows where they came from. It's not like nobody knows we've been funding this. It's a proxy war. The whole thing is fucking.
I don't disagree with the proxy war. I know that a lot of people on the left disagree with the proxy war thing. But this is, once again, where I depart from the left on this. It is a proxy war. It is a competition. Like, the idea that we have on the left that everything is just attempting to defend humanity, it's like, no, it is a competition. Like, it's just like DEI, though it's great for bringing in diversity into the workforce and helping out these marginalized communities, the reason that the majority of people are for DEI isn't because it brings up marginalized communities. It's because it's good for business. Like, sometimes I just feel like a fucking nutcase because I can see that sometimes things are done for emotional reasons, and sometimes things are done, most of the time things are done, to be honest with you, for financial reasons. Because it's better, because money makes everything a little bit better within society when the economy is doing better. Like, it is a proxy war. It has, certain people have said that this has been World War III for a long time, and that it's just now being openly talked about. Even when Trump was in office, we were constantly involved in Syria. We're constantly involved in Afghanistan, constantly involved in Yemen. And the reason that we were involved in all of those places wasn't strictly for humanitarian reasons. Sometimes there was a tidbit of that, but mostly it was because it's a competition where you are constantly jockeying for position against other gigantic countries. Because whether or not you like it or not, if you don't push back against countries like Russia and China, eventually they will make you Russia and China. That's how it works.
Fucking insane. It's insane.
Weapons and ammunition, I wouldn't even say so much about an expiration date. Like, the military industrial complex is something that everybody agrees on. Whether you're on the right, whether you're on the left, or you're a conspiracy theory centrist, every single person agrees about the military-industrial complex. The economy is ran on war because there is nothing more profitable than selling billion-dollar airplanes, selling billions of dollars worth of weapons. People, once again, just can't wrap their mind around the fact that the reason that the economy is so good in America isn't because of good old blue-collar, hard work Americans doing hard work. It's because of a lot of different factors. And one of those factors is because of war. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with America going out there and taking the lives of innocent civilians that have nothing to do with anything because two governments want to, measure the size of their dicks. I don't agree with any of it. I don't agree with it. But I'm not going to deny that that's what's happening. This is what drives me nuts about these conversations. Is this like you're either one side or the other. You're all emotion or you're strictly statistics. And that's where people get lost. Is that like the reality of it is that I can both be against war and civilians dying and people being involved in shit that they don't want anything to do with, but also recognize that the reason that the economy is what the economy is because America is a prolific arms dealer. And oil.
Come to the negotiation table. Sit down. Work this out. Stop killing everybody. U.S.
Later,
allows
Mike.
Ukraine to use long-range missiles. So what did they say? Someone had said that, like, CNN was saying that it was a good thing, which I think is how? How is the left?
That's not even close, Adam, though. You're comparing Vietnam to Ukraine. Like that, I mean, I get what you're going for, but that's not really analogous, right? Analogous. Like if there was ever a time to defend American interests, it would be, I mean, I guess at that time they were defending themselves against the Chinese communists, right? In Vietnam. That was the idea. And it was the left that was against it. I used to shit on hippie Democrats back in the day because my family's military for the way they treated soldiers coming back from Vietnam, saying that like it isn't those people's fault, like it's their government sending them over there. It's not like those people aren't like going over there and enjoying their time. I mean, a couple of them probably were fucking crackheads, but anyways, I didn't like the way that people treated Vietnam veterans that were returning. My whole family's military, so. I don't agree that it's exactly one for one, but I get what you're trying to say.
Gone so far crazy that they think it's a good thing to launch missiles.
Okay, yeah, I saw him crying about the Australian dude. Yeah,
that he said
I thought that was awesome.
His ignorance of this entire conflict. First, he starts talking about how it's a proxy war, and it's not like they don't know. We're not trying to hide the fact that we are giving these missiles to Ukraine. We're okay.
Yeah, see, I like that art. That's a good argument. Please don't say it's not proxy.
Knowing that a country is trying to defend itself. And then he says, come to the negotiation table. Let's talk about this. What are you talking about? These people have drank so much of...
Yeah, there is no negotiating table. Like I said, when Trump says that he will end the war within 24 hours, what he actually means is that he will call Vladimir Zelensky and say, you are not going to receive any more aid from the United States of America. If you wish to continue this war, you can. But if I were you, I'd take my ass to the negotiation table. I would give Russia everything they want and just accept it. Now, the fallacy that is inherent in that argument is the thought process that Putin is going to agree with Trump. That Putin is going to say to himself, oh, okay, Trump has now forced Zelensky into a position where he's not going to get any more weapons or he's not going to have any help from America. Therefore, I will negotiate peace. Why would Putin ever at that point accept that? At that point, you're pretty much looking at what's happening in Gaza, a country that completely overpowers a group of people that is going to march the fuck in there and do whatever they want within there. That is what's going to happen if Trump calls Zelensky and says, you get no more money, your best bet is to go to the negotiation table. Zelensky will go to the negotiation table. He will sit down and he will be sitting by himself because Vladimir Putin will roll the fuck over Ukraine if the rest of the world backs out of defending Ukraine. He's not going to be like, oh, cool, you guys did us a solid. We'll do you a solid. That's not how Putin works. He's tortured people to death in his lifetime. I still can't understand how people do not know who Vladimir Putin is. They think he's like some kind of statesman. He's not a statesman. He's an ex-KGB agent that became a dictator that rules one of the gnarliest countries in the world. He's not like fucking, I read a book on peace and now I want to like be peaceful. That's not
Donald
Putin,
Trump's
dude.
Kool-Aid. They really believe that
I blame the inbred royals as well,
hey,
TSG.
Putin, let's go to the table and talk, and then everything is going to be okay. The man is a bully and a dictator. If he wanted to come to the table and talk, that would have been done a long time ago. You think Ukraine wants to be in this war? No, they don't. They would much rather negotiating, not having another country occupy their country.
Yeah. Like that's once again, that's the fallacy. Is you're thinking, oh, Ukraine doesn't want to go to the negotiation table because they just want to continue to fight this war and they have America's backing. No, that's not what it is. Ukraine would go to the negotiating table if Russia said, we're not going to keep any of this land that we've taken over. But that's not what they're going to do. Russia has no reason to do that. Russia is going to continue to say, we are going to continue to fight this war as long as we feel like fighting it because we're not giving you back those lands. So therefore, the only way that the Ukraine gets out of this in any way, shape, or form, while America is still defending them, mind you, if America backs out, they have nothing. But while America is defending them, the only way that Ukraine gets out of this war is to go to the negotiation table, say whatever Russia wants is fine, and all they want is to have their one fucking city. Or whatever. You get what I'm saying. I'm exaggerating. That's the only way that happens.
Wix gives you the power of AI to build the website you need. With full business
Trump is definitely not a stable genius.
And it's like, you know,
he's something.
Insane.
He's a genius.
It's so insane. What is insane is how much you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he walked himself into a corner for sure. But that's what he does. He's hyperbolic. He's super hyperbolic. That's what he does.
Goodness.
Just...
That's what's scary about life is like you don't want to pay attention to that shit. You just want to live your life. You want to just be carefree and have fun and do the thing that you're passionate about.
You're so close.
Yeah, he's so close.
Because you know what? You know who was just trying to live carefree,
Ukrainians.
enjoy life, and have fun and do the things they're passionate about? People in Ukraine. And then they were invaded. So they're not allowed to do that anymore because they're defending their freaking selves.
Exactly.
But this next part is the...
And that's what I mean when I say America has an entitlement problem. We get to kind of like sit here. We get to sit on YouTube and fucking talk about it. We get to talk about other people's lives in this way of just like, it'd be really great if they would just stop fighting over there and just die so that way we don't have to worry about it. That'd be so cool. God, I'm like, really what I want to do is watch this season's Game of Thrones, but it's hard to enjoy this season Game of Thrones while these people are over there dying. They're taking too long. Like, that's like literally what we sound like as Americans. Boy, it's an inconvenience that those people are there fighting for their freedom.
Setup, because this is what they actually are going to try to run on. This is what they're going to try and say when Donald Trump gets in and fails at everything he said he was going to do.
And meanwhile, the world is burning.
What's that in ours? Why
you can't do anything about it? It's like at that high level, it's like there's nothing.
Well, we can. We voted Trump in, and his idea is to stop all this shit, and hopefully he can do that.
Yeah.
His idea is to stop all this shit. His idea is to withhold aid from Ukraine. And like I said, it's fucking wild to hear Joe Rogan just sit here and be like, well, Trump's going to get in there and solve this. I mean, maybe he doesn't understand. Maybe Joe Rogan really isn't smart enough to know what Trump is talking about when Trump says he's going to end that war. Or maybe Joe Rogan just has lost any empathy for any other human being in this world and is just like, all I care about is me Fuck those people. I want to go back to crying about COVID for 4 more years on my podcast. These people in Ukraine are super inconveniencing. They're killing my buzz. The people in Ukraine defending themselves are totally killing my buzz. All I want to do is drink beer, smoke weed, do DMT, and make fun of transgender people. And these fucking Ukrainians, man, they're harshing my buzz. That's what that sounds like.
But, man, fuck. We got 60 more days until Trump gets in or whatever it is. How many days is it, Jamie? But who knows? Maybe once he gets in, they'll ramp it up. Who knows? Maybe they'll sabotage his administration.
They're going to ramp it up, and they're going
to sabotage his administration. Like, this is where conspiracy theorists, drive me nuts. Joe Biden has children that live in America. Joe Biden has family that live in America. Joe Biden, turns out, still lives in America, even though Republicans keep thinking he's dead. What sense would it make to ramp it up just to get back at Donald Trump? It's moronic to believe that politicians that just dislike Trump would create a scenario in the country that they live in, where their family lives in, the people they love live in, their children, their friends, their wives, their husbands live in which it would create this really gnarly situation that would fuck us over. It's like they don't think past their initial thought. Oh, they don't like Trump, so therefore they would do X. They're
going to sabotage his administration. Who is there? Who are they?
They!
Who are the people that are going to ramp it up? Is it Russia? Because I thought all Donald Trump will have to do is get on the phone and make one phone call and the war's over just like that. He said on day 1, he'll get that done. It'll take an hour. It's not going to take any time at all. So what are you talking about they're going to sabotage? They can't sabotage someone who can just make a phone call and end it all. But this is what they're going to do.
Exactly.
Every time Donald Trump fails, they're going to blame the Democrats. They're going to say they ran out of money because of Democrats. They're going to say Democrats gave all the money to migrants or gave all the money to Ukraine or gave all the money to Israel.
The economy, they're going to blame it on the Democrats.
To make all these things go away. And the reason why Trump wasn't able to make America.
And it's going to be insane because I already said Republicans are going to claim that the economy is good as soon as Trump is elected. They've already started to say that. They've already done polls that show all of these people that claim that the economy was their number one issue have already said that the economy is doing better. They've already said that. When Donald Trump crashes the economy, people are going to go from saying it was a good economy to saying it was a bad economy, and it was always a bad economy because this is how 1984 works. We're not now at war with East Asia. We've always been at war with East Asia. It's not now we're at war with Oceania. It's always been a war with Oceania. So the economy is going to be bad, and then it's going to be good, and then when it's bad, they're going to say, it's always been bad. We never said it was good. And every single one of these topics is going to be just like this because we are literally living in a weird fucking mixture of The Handmaid's Tale, 1984, and Idiocracy. I'm just waiting for Hulk Hogan to be the fucking head of sports nutrition. I'm just waiting until the day that they literally just start handing out DMT, ketamine, and steroids. Because at that point, fuck it. I'm going to be ripped and high off my ass.
America great again is because the Democrats sabotaged him. Wait for it. That is what's going to happen.
Exactly. TSG.
You can bookmark this day on it, me saying it.
It's the resources.
Period.
Don't want no enemies or ops. Envy in their heart, I tell them stop.
Anyways, Coach D speaks truth. I had not, so I'm going to like and subscribe on the second one. And if you have not liked and subscribed to Coach D, I like Coach D. He's pretty dope. Give him one, like and subscribe. He doesn't show likes on his. That's crazy. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Like, that kind of stuff just, drives me nuts because it's like, And oftentimes I think maybe I think too much to have conversations with certain people. Because it seems like if you sat down in front of Joe Rogan and you just said, hold on, can I just show you where you're wrong, the inconsistencies in your argument? I guarantee you would sit there and go, well, I guess I didn't think about that, but... And that's what's so exhausting about those types of conversations is you can literally point out something to somebody 30, 40, 50 times during a conversation that takes 2-3 hours and have them every time agree with you. Oh, yeah, that is crazy. And then I'll finish with, but... Yeah, that is crazy. Oh, that does seem true. But, yeah, you're right. That's weird. But, and it's like, I can't think of anything other than this shit must just be hardcore brainwashing. Because there is so much that I dislike about left-wing politics that I'm willing to criticize, that I can sit there with a person, and if they go, well, don't you think, TSG here says, well, don't you think that Americans' involvement in Iran in the 50s, 60s, and 70s was bad? Can't you agree to that? I go, yeah, for sure. No, but. No, it was bad. America's involvement in Iran, bad. That created a whole fucking issue. No, but. You know? And it's like, you can't have conversations with these people and be able to say, like, here's all these things that I can point out to you, without them saying, yeah, but, oh, we just got to get Trump in. Yeah, but Trump wasn't the president. Yeah, but as soon as Trump's in it, it's going to be better. The same thing with the economy. Economy's good. No, it's not. Well, all of these statistics show that the economy is good. Yeah, but if you talk to like a random person, they'll say it's bad. Did you know, do people understand that there has never been a portion of history in any country, much less America, where every single person that you talk to thought the economy was good? Did you know that? Did you know that you can go to any country in the world at any period in time and find a group of people that's unhappy with the economy at that point? That's why you use statistics and metrics to measure the overall, so that way you can say overall the economy is good. Not that it's good for everybody, that overall it's good. Yeah, but for me it's not. Fuck my life. All right, let's see. We've got Nick Fuentes. Let's watch this. You know what? We're on this tilt right now. Let's watch Legia Miller talk about Linda McMahon being the board of education or the secretary of education.
Breaking news: America's students have gone feral.
North Korea has it. Yeah, exactly. 100 approval rating. Not a bad economy in sight, North Korea. You're right, Perry.
In short, the kids are not all right. And though we'd be wise to listen to the hordes of burnt-out teachers who've been screaming warnings into the void since long before COVID,
I shall correct myself. There are a couple current dictatorships that if you were to ask anybody in society, they would probably do this. And then they'd be like, yeah, economy is good. Economy is great. I am incorrect. You are correct. There are a couple dictatorships that 100% economy is good.
This is America, where we like to wait until our canaries have all gone silent before getting the out of the coal mine. For the best educators, teaching is more of a calling than a job, which explains why they bothered entering the profession despite knowing they'd face daily frustrations like the low wages, micromanaging administrators, and infuriating parents that have become hallmarks of the profession.
Damn, Lee just sounds like she used to be a teacher.
But it seems we've reached a breaking point for teachers and students. Turnover is rampant. Fewer people are being certified in the profession each year than are retiring. Schools are chronically understaffed. Students are disengaged and insulated from...
Don't worry, guys. Trump's going to fix it by sending it back to the states, except for states like California, which are going to do things that Trump doesn't like. So then it's not going to be a states' rights issue anymore. It's going to be that they don't like what you do in California, so then they're going to try and enforce federal laws on California because California doesn't want to do things the way that, you know, the federal government does. But don't worry, guys. It's totally a states' rights issue.
from consequences. Mass shooter drills and the threat of real violence they imply.
Oh yeah, the Trump Reagan thing.
And starting next year,
he thinks he's Reagan.
At the helm of it all, has more experience in the wrestling ring than in the classroom, and is hell-bent on dismantling all of it. Today, we're exploring why teachers are fleeing the classroom and what's going to happen once Trump's in charge. Let's get into it. With the election season behind us, it's understandable to feel fatigued from the constant media cycle. But now more than ever, it's critical to understand media biases in order to make Fleja for 50% off the Vantage plan, bringing it to about $5 a month. It's the best deal of the year, and subscribing not only supports my
but he
channel,
won't,
but also
Adam.
backs an independent
Trump
team
always
dedicated
wants
to
it
media
both ways.
transparency. Thanks, Groundless.
Always. That's the irony
hello to
of Trump.
Jessica. One day, Jessica met
It's
Josh,
the hypocrisy,
an amazing
you know.
man who shared.
Education is key to a
He's
thriving
already
society.
started on
Studies
California,
have shown
too.
that
So is
graduates with
Musk.
access to quality education through primary and secondary school are more likely to find gainful employment, have stable families, and become productive and engaged citizens. They're also less likely to commit serious crimes, less likely to place high demands on the public health care system, and less likely to be enrolled in welfare assistance programs. Investing in public education now is far more cost-effective.
Yes, I was about to say is, just so you know, everything that she just said is good for the economy. Look, Prop 47 in California, absolute shit. The idea that you can't arrest people unless they've stolen more than $950 and put them in jail and keep them in jail for and they could also there was loopholes to where they could steal like $450 from each store, right? So Prop 47, complete shit, and I'm glad that they've amended 47 and have made it correct. Well, we'll see if it's correct now, but they've made it better. But the one thing you can't disagree with is Prop 47 saved California billions of dollars. Why did it save billions of dollars? Because when you don't put people in these prisons, it doesn't cost California taxpayers money, therefore it saves money. So it's like, once again, a lot of people can't think past the initial idea. Prop 47 had the right idea because it saved money for California, but in execution, it was really bad because it actually ended up in losses for small businesses that couldn't take it. You know, you can't take somebody stealing your shit all day. Even for Target, they can't take people stealing your shit all day. So it needed to be amended. But this is one of those things that people don't understand. The less educated the populace, the worse the economy is. The less people have health insurance, the worse the economy is. Everything that people think that the left is doing strictly for humanitarian reasons, they do not understand that the left is just as bad as the right when it comes to wanting the country to be successful economically. Therefore, the majority of the things that the left believes are humanitarian on the facade of it is humanitarian. On the front, it looks like it's humanitarian. But in real, actual, like legitimate use, it is actually very good for the economy. And that's the real reason why I do it, because they have a lot of money too, and they want to benefit from a strong economy just like Republicans do. And when you talk about education, the reason that you want to improve education, one of the reasons that I support the first 2 years of college education being free, is because as an employer, having people that have willingly submitted themselves to 2 years of college allows me to know that these are people that are looking to do something more than just be a basic, average, everyday human being that smokes cigarettes and, you know, presses a fucking press down or puts stuff in a box at Amazon. Like, at the end of the day, any person that comes through my door that has higher education, I generally think has like put more into the effort of doing something. But that like obviously doesn't disqualify people that don't have the education. But if it was free, there wouldn't be a question at all. You wouldn't have to worry about it. You would know that if a person was offered 2 years of free college education and they turned it down, they either want to work as a grocery stocker their entire life because that's their dream, or they probably are a little bit lazier than you want, you know, your employee to be. Or they come from a background that doesn't allow them the time to do it and they have to pay their bills. But it allows people the ability to educate themselves more, which allows them to be more useful, even when not applying what they learned in college to like a bare basic job, like putting stuff on shelves. It just makes them better and more skilled. That's why these things are set up. Social safety nets are not just to allow the poor to be lazy. social safety nets are also to protect the middle class from having to bear a burden, an unfair burden, from poverty-stricken people not being taken care of, so they commit crimes, or they go to, they don't have health insurance, and they weigh down the healthcare system, which we end up paying for because insurance companies aren't going to pay for it. Like, this is like, at the end of the day, this is one of those things where people just don't think past the initial idea.
And footing the bill for the social and economic consequences of underfunded
Shut up, Nathan.
schools. But it's great teachers
I bet you can't
that
even
really make a
explain
difference in
free
educational
college.
outcomes. Studies indicate that teachers are the single most significant factor impacting student achievements, more than services, facilities, or administrative leadership. When teachers are enthusiastic, motivated, and passionate, students are more likely to be engaged and motivated to learn. But if students perceive that their instructor has disengaged from the lesson, they're likely to disengage as well. You've probably experienced this yourself. I had a science teacher in 9th grade who was so checked out that he was using projector slides from the 1970s. I did get to watch a lot of Bill Nye the Science.
And that's because most people that enter the teaching profession because they want to teach. But then when they enter the teaching profession and it becomes a slog, they lose any type of motivation that they have for the teaching profession. One of the problems with that is that we do not fund our classrooms. So our teachers have something like 30 students to every teacher or something like that. And, they have certain states don't have IEP programs for kids that are neurodivergent. They don't separate those children, so therefore it makes it harder for the teacher to be able to teach. It makes them more frustrated. It causes them to give up on their job. It causes them to give up on life. They become worse teachers. That means that they have worse students. That means that their education lacks because of the lack of motivation from the teacher. Like, it's a fucking vicious cycle that a bunch of greedy ass people don't understand. Nathan, welcome to my chat. We don't believe in ad hominem. I call you a fucking idiot because you're a fucking idiot.
Science guy, though. But I was also equally checked out. But despite their enormous
I ain't a
importance,
debate bro. I'm an insult comic.
And they haven't for a criminally long time. In an episode from a while ago, we talked about the many ways conservatives sabotage public schools, including by interfering with curriculum, tying federal funding to standardized test scores, and waging a cultural war on expertise. Teachers were already fighting to persevere through these major challenges.
Don't worry. Nathan's watched some YouTube videos. He can tell you what to do.
According to a recent Pew survey, the vast majority of teachers, 82%, said that schools are worse off than they were pre-pandemic and predicted an even steeper decline in the 5 years ahead. This, even though public K-12 spending has been trending upward nationwide. We're actually spending more money per student per year than ever before, just apparently not on things that would improve outcomes. For example,
it's because a lot of stupid people are like, we don't need education because they're stupid.
Paying teachers what they're worth. And let me be clear, the answer to this high spending despite low outcomes problem is not to get rid of the spending altogether, as conservatives would have you believe.
You need to do better with it.
It's to be more strategic with the money we are
there
spending,
you go.
including paying teachers enough to make it worth their time to enter the profession to begin with, and to give them the bandwidth to give all that they give of themselves to this job. Teachers, much like nonprofit workers and artists, are subject to hefty passion taxes. A passion tax, also known as enthusiasm exploitation, refers to an employer's expectation that a worker will accept lower wages and worse conditions to do a job they love. But passion doesn't pay the bills, you know what I mean? In 2022, teachers earned 74 cents on the dollar compared to workers with similar levels of education. And more than half of those public school teachers had master's degrees. In addition to making less than other comparably educated professionals, teachers' salaries also grow at slower rates than the workforce as a whole.
You can tell Legia doesn't make videos for Trump supporters because she uses a lot of words. See, if this video is for Trump supporters, it would be school good.
January 2018, the average teacher salary was about 3% less than the average salary for all other workers in the country. By October 2023, the pay gap had widened to 8%. A 2021 study
we don't disagree that the money is being poorly spent, but taking it away does not do anything.
Could help address public education's teacher shortage crisis. Determining a teacher's effectiveness is another can of worms, but even still, higher base pay has been proven to deepen student learning, reduce dropout rates, and narrow the achievement gap between white students and students of color. Raising base pay also curbs teacher turnover, ensuring that quality teachers remain in their classrooms instead of abandoning them in
longer
search of more
tenured employees
jobs that don't involve regular active shooter drills. Raising the average teacher salary to six figures nationwide would require about $35,000 additional dollars per teacher per year. The U.S. employs more than 3 million public school teachers, making the total cost of that increase more than $100 billion per year. And this sounds like a lot until you realize that we're spending about $100 billion on Medicare every 5.5 weeks. The Pentagon Pentagon's budget is over $800 billion per year, and they don't seem to know where a lot of that budget goes, given they haven't passed an audit in 7 years. And the Biden administration set aside $122 billion in American Rescue Plan elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds.
Yeah, and it always comes back to the same thing. Anytime that it comes to whether or not money should be spent on something or whether or not enough money is being spent on something, obviously this is something that most of us can agree on, and that is that government transparency when it comes to spending needs to be better. People need to know. I mean, I disagree with the audit thing with the military, and the only reason that I disagree with that is that there is only a certain amount of information that the military can publish. I mean, that doesn't give up the goat, right? Like, you have to be careful about that. So, though I agree that they shouldn't fail audits, some of the transparency within the military is a little more difficult to achieve when you're trying to hide your capabilities from your adversaries. So that's a little bit of a more complicated subject. But when it comes to things like where money goes for certain programs, whether it's education or whether it's commerce or whether or not it's, the prison systems, like all of those places, I think everybody should be able to agree that the government needs to be more transparent when it comes to how money is spent on any given portion of American culture. But the problem with that is Donald Trump's not going to change that. Donald Trump is not going to make the government any more transparent. As that video we watched the other day with Stavros talking to Theo Vaughn, people that believe that Donald Trump is any different than any other politician are fucking morons. Because Donald Trump is a politician to his core. He just doesn't have the experience that other politicians have. He's as shady, he's as dark, he used to just fucking lobby to them the way he's being lobbied to now. But at his core, he's a politician. He's not going to make the government more transparent because that directly fucks with his ability to make money off of it, which he does constantly by selling you shit.
To eliminate educator shortages. We could come up with the money if we wanted to. It's not really about the cash, it's about our priorities. And for the past 50 plus years,
make college and healthcare free, raise
the systemic
taxes.
Erosion of our public education system, and undermining teachers has been a major part of that work. Conservatives have spent decades painting higher education and anyone shaped by it as the enemy, including public school teachers, who, as we just covered, are a particularly educated bunch. By painting teachers as a bunch of Marxists hell-bent on indoctrinating innocent youths with woke nightmares like critical race.
Yeah, and once again, that's just turning people on their own people. That is the one place that you will find me agreeing pretty strongly with the both sidesers, and that is that the government consistently turns citizens on citizens. At the end of the day, if you think that teachers don't deserve more pay because you don't think that they should get more money than you do, you're part of the fucking problem. They're literally teaching your children how to fucking be better human beings. They're daycare workers. They're there to make sure your fucking kids get fed. Like, the idea that we have in our society that certain people shouldn't make more money. Why? Because I don't. The fact that we have a bunch of people that think that we should completely eviscerate the entire administrative wing of people who, by the way, are government employees, not politicians, just employees, just like you, just like me, just another fucking person that worked their ass off to get to where they are, and you guys are out there applauding Vivek and Elon going, we're just going to fire them by their social security number. I wish they would go to your job and fire you by your social security number. That shit would make me laugh. I wish they would go to your job with a fucking GoPro on. For any person out there that thinks that you should go to the fucking use Schedule F to just fire all these people that work in the administrative wing of the government, I think the fucking most awesome thing I could possibly see ever in my life is a bunch of people showing up to your work and firing you because of your social security number. I would laugh my ass off, and then I'd make fun of you on YouTube. It'd be amazing.
Theory and radical gay stuff. Conservatives have gradually but systematically undermined teachers' authority, expertise, and independence. No Child Left Behind, the George W. Bush administration's program that tied federal funding to
Apex, they're talking about your thing.
saw teachers' classroom autonomy eroded and their expertise overruled by administrators more interested in statistics than truth. And since graduation rate is another success metric for schools, teachers are rarely allowed to fail a student or make them repeat the year.
Exactly.
So they just keep getting pushed through to the next grade and then the next grade. And that's how the U.S. ended up with 19% illiteracy among high school graduates. Nearly 20% of the kids graduating from high school are illiterate in the United States. 21% of adults
and
in
that's
the US,
how we get Trump.
1/5 read below a 5th grade reading level. 5th graders are 11 years old.
Dude, that George Bush pulled the long con. George Bush straight up pulled the long con, dude. He was like, everybody was like, he named it No Kid Left Behind. How can we not vote for that? And then fucking 15 years later, 20 years later, Trump gets elected. I guess it was like 12 years later, 13 years. Can I math? Apparently I can't. 13 years later, Trump gets elected. George Bush set us up to fucking elect Donald Trump to be president of the United States through illiteracy.
For the record. As a former gifted and talented
student, he loves the uneducated.
I was at 5th grade level in 2nd grade. So you're telling me that there are 41-year-olds out here who can't read any better than a gifted and talented 8-year-old? In response to being micromanaged by bad metrics in the wake of No Child Left Behind,
believe that.
Educator job satisfaction plummeted. Between 2008 and 2019.
Dude, if I show people... Where's one of my big books? Like, I pull out, like, a book like this and show it to people, and they're like, what the fuck is that? It's a book. Dog. Like, you read that? Yeah, the whole thing. There's like 6 of them in the series, and they're all that fucking big. That's crazy.
The number of new teachers completing
reading is a superpower in America.
More than a third, and the steepest declines were in areas with the greatest need for instructors, including bilingual education, science, math, and special ed. And when you listen to teachers talking about their experiences in the classroom, which is one of my favorite TikTok subgenres, it's not hard to understand why fewer than 1 in 5 Americans surveyed in 2022 said they would ever.
Bro, give Trump like 2 or 3 years, and kids will just be learning shit from TikTok. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go out on a limb here. The Department of Education completely fails. Linda McMahon runs it into the ground. Schools everywhere. Parents are just deciding to homeschool their children. And I mean all across the spectrum. People on the right are homeschooling their children because that's what they've decided that they like to do nowadays. People on the left start homeschooling their children because they're like, it's a fucking shithole. We can't send our kids there. It's crazy. The teachers hate being there. And Donald Trump's, his solution is going to be every kid gets TikTok. This is how we get idiocracy.
Ever encourage a young person to become a K-12 teacher. Facing chronic staffing shortages and a lack of trained teachers, states are ushering unqualified randos into the classroom.
Yeah, George Bush does.
Arizona,
I know.
Florida,
I know,
and Oklahoma
Adam.
Have all lifted the requirement
I was
that
being
teachers
mildly
hold a bachelor's
facetious, but
degree.
at the same time, I think I might be right.
The Texas legislature passed a law allowing most schools to hire uncertified teachers. Supposedly, the idea was to empower retired professionals like doctors and mathematicians to help address the perennial teacher shortage. Instead, recruiting untrained outsiders has become a pillar of the state's hiring strategy. In 2024, more than half of all public schools.
Oh, Jesus. Just imagine at one point or another, there's just going to be an ad on fucking Craigslist. Do people still use Craigslist? I guess there's going to be an ad on Indeed. And it's going to be like, school teacher wanted. And it's going to be like qualifications. How many YouTube videos have you watched? Like, you're going to sit down in an interview. You just got fired from being a forklift driver. They're like, why'd you get fired? You're like, I was drunk driving the forklift. They're like, oh, okay, well, hey, like, you can't drink here either. Yeah, of course not. I'll stop drinking right after this interview. And they're going to be like, all right, well, anyways, we need to interview you anyways because we don't have anybody to fucking teach kids. So what you got? What kind of education you got? And you're like, well, I watch a lot of YouTube. They're not even going to ask you what videos. They're just going to be like, done. Sounds good. All right, put him in there. We're so fucked. Redonk, that was your era. That explains a lot.
Students in Texas were taught by uncertified teachers, even though
I just saw your buddy today, Redonk.
Unregulated hiring practices tend to backfire on students, and that those consequences disproportionately affect Black students, English learners, and rural students. Underprepared teachers are more likely to quit, which has a negative impact on students' academic achievement, especially in middle and high school math, already a consistently understaffed subject. A recent study found that middle and high school students who were taught math by an unqualified first-time teacher experienced learning losses equivalent to missing...
No doubt. Dude, I'm not an administrator of a school, but if you were to put me in the position and you were to ask me what I thought the results of hiring a person that was not qualified to teach kids math, but he's going to teach kids math, what I thought the results would be, I would go with probably not good. Probably going to not be a lot of math being learned. Like, if I'm very good at math, I'm incredibly good at math, despite my inability to tell you how long it was between Trump and Bush. I'm very good at math, but if you made me teach kids math, those poor kids would not be able to math. They would be Trump supporters for life. They would be like, he said he got 97 million votes.
3 months of instruction. So students could lose a full third of a 9-month school year.
Oh, God,
with just
MAGA
one
school, evangelical
hire.
homeschooling.
In 2024, more than 365,000 teachers across the U.S., and that's just from the states that reported their numbers, weren't fully certified for their teaching assignments.
Excellent.
And in many cases, uncertified teachers get the same pay and benefits as their certified peers, begging the question, why bother get training at all? Lowering the barriers to entry for educators sounds like a way to democratize teaching, but is really just another Band-Aid solution that will further erode the already shriveling pipeline of qualified teachers in the long run.
Excellent.
Charter schools have also helped normalize the presence of uncertified teachers in the classroom. Charter schools are private, for-profit institutions that siphon off government funding that would otherwise go to public schools, and yet they're not held to the standards that public schools are. School vouchers allow individual families and students to divert education tax dollars away from public schools to help subsidize the tuition of the private, religious, or home school of their choosing. In 2022, Arizona pioneered the largest school voucher program in the history of education,
Arizona,
allowing any parent in the state, no matter how affluent, to cash in on a taxpayer-funded voucher with up to tens of thousands of dollars to spend on anything from private school tuition to extracurricular programs to homeschooling supplies. So rich families who could otherwise afford to send their kids to whatever private school they wanted are receiving government vouchers, handouts, some might say, not me, but some, to send their rich kids to expensive private schools on the government's dime. This year, Arizona faced a $1.4 billion budget deficit, much of which was tied to new voucher spending. Make it make sense. Private schools, religious schools, homeschools, and charter schools all operate independently of established state school regulations and oversight.
Hold on, though. So this legislation is going to get dumber and dumber, right? Because the people that are being educated by this system are then growing up to create the legislation that will then be used for future generations to be educated by this system. It's starting to all make sense. I wonder how long it's going to take me to get citizenship in a place like New Zealand. I think I need to watch this dumpster fire from a lot further away. I feel like I'm too close to the dumpster fire. It's getting a little too warm for comfort, this dumpster fire. I think I need to move to like an island somewhere really, really far away and maybe just make YouTube videos and just like comment on it from afar. A very safe distance away from the dumpster fire.
Another not-so-subtle reinforcement of the increasingly popular idea that parents know best no matter what. Reminder that 20% of these parents can't read. And on the subject of parents, these days, parents tend to be either way too involved.
Ireland's a good point, Perry.
Or completely
heading that way.
checked out. On the overbearing end of the spectrum are the helicopter parents. They've been empowered by online portals and made a habit of combing through every syllabus, reading assignment, and test score. Stop emailing your daughter's English teacher at 11 o'clock at night just because she posted a grade you had thoughts about. Okay, Denise? But grade grubbing is a predictable side effect of a college-centric...
Dude, tell me Legia she wasn't a teacher at one point. She had to. She knows too much about this.
Educational system where A's have become a currency that can be exchanged for a successful future in a world where kids aren't guaranteed to outperform their parents. Grades themselves are more important than the mastery they're supposed to represent. And many parents believe their precious crotch goblins are entitled to top.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of martial arts. When I was doing Kung Fu when I was in my early 20s, I remember being like super obsessed about like the belt, right? Like I remember like walking in and being like, okay, so like how long until like I'm a yellow belt? And the guy being like, it's not about belts. And I was like, yeah, that's like what it's about, right? Like grades are kind of the same thing. His point was it's not about getting the belt. It's like learning like the skills and getting to a point where you can apply those skills, right? And it's the same thing with education. We as a society have become so hyper-focused on reward systems, on goals, that instead of like recognizing that like going to school is really teaching you all of these skill sets, right? Like some people would even say like just waking up at 8 in the morning and going to school until 3, 4 in the afternoon is preparing you for like a 9 to 5 job, right? Brainwashing you of sorts. But like when it comes to like Common Core math, you have all these people that are really upset about Common Core math. And the people that get really upset about Common Core math don't recognize that the reason that Common Core is important is not that it teaches you math. It's that it teaches you how to solve problems. So when I first started doing Common Core math with my kids, it was really frustrating for me because I'm very good at math and I do all the math in my head. So having to like show my work was really hard because I'm like, when I say that 3 plus 3 is 3, I just know that it's 3. I don't like think about it in any other way, but that was the problem. And over time, doing Common Core with math with my kid, I started to recognize, oh, this is what they're trying to teach you. And then that helped me understand better why people were trying to teach you algebra in high school when I was doing things like, well, why would I ever use this math outside of the things that I'm doing, unless you're like an engineer or something like that. And I recognized in doing Common Core math with my kid why algebra is taught. And once again, it's not about learning to do the math. It's about learning the skill of solving the problem. Going to school is learning how to study. Going to school is learning how to do research. Going to school is learning how to apply skills that you learn to your day-to-day life. It's not about getting the answer right. And when she makes that point that parents are hyper-focused on the grade rather than whether or not the kid understands what they're doing and how it's applicable to their life later on is the real fucking problem. Like when I look at my kids, I generally judge them based off of how well they're doing as human beings. Do they seem intelligent? Do they seem to get things? Do they understand how to process information? Do they understand how to tell if something's fake or real? Those are like the important things to me. And if my kid ended up getting a C, which my kids don't, my kids are very good students. But if they were to get a C, but they were still like really good at applying their knowledge to things, then I would be pretty happy with them as people, because it's not the grade that matters to me unless they're applying for grants and stuff. It is how they do as people. And that's the most important thing. It's like lost in that.
Just for showing up. I mean, remember the
moving to Mexico, huh?
Tuition
but then they're going to tariff all of our stuff at them.
Willing to break the law to get their mediocre kids.
They're going to. We got to get there before fucking they enact their wall on us, Adam.
About the grade than the content, but have just as much
Do
to
not
say.
come,
They tend to believe that the entire school system should adhere to their personal beliefs, whether that means banning inclusive books or whitewashing history to skip all the racist parts. These parents are particularly likely to pull their kids out of the public school system, and thousands of them have since.
And see, that's another thing that I am totally against in that area. Like, look, if you put the Bible in school, if let's just say what's going on in Oklahoma were to make its way to California, which it won't, but let's say it does. If they were to put Bible in the school, you know what I'd tell my kids? I go, you are critical thinkers. You are capable of deciding whether or not something is true or not, and you should be applying that to your day-to-day life. If you go to school and they teach something that you disagree with, then you should be questioning it. You shouldn't be taking it wholesale. Like, I mean, I understand that there are certain things that 100% should not be taught in school, right? It just seems immoral to do certain things. But at the end of the day, I expect my children to be able to suss out the difference. Like, not everything that's taught in school nowadays that is part of like what conservatives would consider a good curriculum for children, I agree with. But I don't worry about it because I don't think of my children as being fucking imbeciles. I think of my children as being taught by me at home about how to deal with life. Therefore, when they go to school, they are able to apply that to what they learn to decide whether or not they are things that they like or dislike, whether or not they think they are true or not true, whether they think they are going to be manipulated by some type of information, or if it's actually like real information that they should be looking into. Like, that's where like I disagree so full-heartedly with people when it comes to certain things about education. Like I've said before, I think that people think of like drag queen story hour, and they're like, well, I just don't want that person reading to my kid because it's immoral. It's like, no, that's not what you're concerned about. You're not concerned that there's a drag queen reading to your kid. What you're concerned about is that your kid is looking at that drag queen and saying to themselves, oh, I like that. I might want to do that as well. You're concerned that at one point or another, your kid's going to come to you and say that they're a drag queen. They weren't groomed. They just saw it and they said, I like that and I'm going to do that. And that's the concern. It's just like people worrying about their kids becoming gay. It's like, no, if your kid comes to you and they say that they're gay, then that's what they are. And that's what you have to deal with. And as parents, you have a job, and that is supporting your children and helping them through a rather tough thing for them to discover in this society, at least. And so like when it comes to one of the most important things that I think that should be taught in education nowadays, it is, media literacy. It's the ability, because media literacy doesn't just apply to media. Media literacy applies to lots of different situations where a kid could be put into something like, say, drag queen story hour, and they don't look at them and go, wow, I want to be a drag queen. Instead, they look at them and go, okay, well, why is that person dressed up like that? Then they want to know, okay, so this person enjoys it? Oh, does that harm me at all that they do that? No, it doesn't. So therefore, should I be accepting of the fact that they choose to live their life this way? Yes, I should, because it does not harm me. This is what really needs to be taught. These are the things that people need to learn, is how to apply critical thinking to things that A, they dislike, or B, they don't understand. That's how you actually get to a point in your life where you can live life and be happy, like Joe Rogan was talking about earlier. People just want to live their lives, bro. You know a really easy way to just live your life? Learn to be a critical thinker. I make jokes about me being gay because I'm really secure in who I am as a person. I don't really care if people think I'm gay. I don't give a shit if people think, that like I do things outside of YouTube that they wouldn't like. That's not my concern. At the end of the day, I make those jokes because I don't give a fuck what you think.
Since the pandemic.
What's happening, Grey Pill?
I'm offering you the opportunity of a lifetime.
Get Max for $2.99 a month for 6.
According to the Washington Post, homeschooling is now the fastest growing form of education in the U.S., and rates have increased across race groups and ethnicities. Families value the opportunity to decide.
I ain't about to do that to my children. You know what that says to me? There's a bunch of people out there that think they're way fucking smarter than they actually are. And we know that as a fucking fact. Dude, can you imagine what those classes must be lit, dude? Those classes have to be out of control. Today, kids, what we're going to talk about, Anthony Fauci and gain of function. That kid's like sitting there going, I just want to know that Z stands for zebra, Mom. And she's like, Anthony Fauci is the devil. Can you say gain of function?
Exactly who and what their children are exposed to. There are also families whose kids have developmental disabilities.
Yeah, you don't have to teach your kids about Santa. They figure that shit out. They should.
That best suit their needs. 15% of all students have disabilities that qualify them for individualized education plans, or IEPs. Yet,
dude, IEPs are dope. I'm gonna just be honest with you guys. For all you guys that have kids and you don't want to like use your tax money for stuff like that, if you have a neurodivergent child, if you have an autistic child, if you have just a special needs child, and I know different states and different schools handle it differently, but my what I've dealt with as far as IEP for my son who was diagnosed with Asperger's when he was like 3 years old, he he's had an amazing time in that IEP program. It has helped him so much. And I credit those teachers with his success. Like, if you made me homeschool my son, he'd be all fucking confused. He wouldn't know what he was supposed to do. He wouldn't know how to solve problems because he's neurodiverse. He thinks about things in a much different manner than I do. There are times where me and my son look at each other and there's a clear disconnect on what we think the answer to something is. And thank God for those teachers that have done such a good job with him and have actually like sat down and been patient, because I do not have patience. I have zero patience. I wish every kid had an IEP. I think that's like, you want to talk utopian world? It's every kid has an IEP. That's my opinion.
In 2022, 65% of U.S. public schools reported being understaffed in special education.
Watching the water boy in classroom.
And more than 78% reported difficulty in hiring special ed staff. And I'm not necessarily saying homeschooling is the wrong option here, but it certainly is for the parents who cannot read and the ones who are more concerned about indoctrinating their children with the right version of information than they are with their child's long-term personal and mental development. Finally, on the disengaged end of the parenting spectrum, there are some parents with what we'll call legitimate excuses. Maybe they're working multiple jobs, dealing with health issues, single parenting, or some other scenario that genuinely leaves them with no bandwidth to spare on policing their child's education. As you might imagine, there have been even more legitimate excuses than usual since COVID, and I'm not here to demonize people who are struggling despite doing their best. I will, however, relish in shaming the disengaged parents who could be more involved in their kids' education but just don't want to. They tend to think of themselves as customers instead of partners with their child's school. They're likely to say things to teachers like, my taxes pay your salary, and how could you be overworked when you get summers off? These parents don't want to check their kids' backpack or help with their homework or read to them at night because, quite frankly, they don't appreciate being told what to do, and their resistance to modifying their own behavior often rubs off on their kids as well. Schools are desperate to get parents back on their team. According to the CDC, research shows that parent engagement in schools is closely linked to better student behavior, higher academic achievement.
Yeah, and once, like she said, I'm not going to sit up here and demonize people that are working their fucking ass off and don't have time. But your children are the most important thing in your life. If you have children, they are your meaning. They are your purpose. And I work 8.5, 9 hours a day. I do this YouTube channel. Usually that takes me somewhere between 3 and 4 hours a day. And my wife works 8.5 hours a day. She drives kids to sports. She drives kids to band practices. She drives kids to martial arts. She cleans around the house. I've recently picked up cooking again because I think my children can finally eat ingredients, and I cook with ingredients, which was a big turnoff to my children that just want to eat chicken nuggets. But so like my average day is go to work until 4-ish, come home, cook dinner, talk to my wife, talk to my kids, come down, do video editing or live stream. And then by the time I'm done, it's usually 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And like, I just go to bed. Like, that's my day. My day is full from the very beginning to the very end. And I still find time to talk with my children. I still find time to make sure my children are doing well academically. I still find time to check in with them and make sure that, like, you know, they're in a good place and they feel good emotionally and that they're getting what they need. Like, I'm not going to demonize people that are tired. I understand what that's like. But if you have free time and you have children, then you should be spending a lot of that free time, not all of it, but a lot of that free time with your children, making sure that your children are healthy physically and mentally. Mentally is one of those things that people like just don't think about. Like, I mean, I spoke to my daughter when she was like 11 or 12 years old, and I checked in with her and I told her, you know, like, hey man, I've been in places where in my life where I didn't feel good and I thought about taking my own life. And I was very like honest with her. And when we got to talking about it and she was asking questions about like why I felt that way and what made me, you know, want to do it, she opened up and said, you know, like there was a year of her life, you know, a recent year, the year before or whatever, where she had thought about taking hers. And that's really like emotionally very impactful as a parent to think that your child thinks these things. But if you don't have conversations with your children, even if you're busy, then you won't know until it's too late. And because of that conversation, me and my daughter were able to connect in a way that allowed her to feel comfortable about talking to me about those things. And the same thing goes for my son. I make sure to constantly remind both of my children that I have made lots of mistakes in my life, that I have failed, that I have flaws, that even though I want to be a good person, I'm not always the nicest person. And, you know, having those conversations impact my children's lives and help them to be more successful people. And if you are spending so much of your life working and being stressed out that you don't have time to help with your children, you will regret that. So, though I will not demonize, I will say that you will regret that. And so find the time, make the time, be a part of your children's lives, support them, help them do well, and vote in the interest of making your life less stressful so you can spend more time with your children. Stop falling for this fucking bullshit, pull yourself up by the bootstraps rhetoric that fucking a bunch of people that don't have to pull themselves up by the bootstraps get you to believe. There's a bunch of people out there with a bunch of fucking money, ultra billionaires, convincing fucking everyday human beings that they should spend less time with their children and more time at work. It's fucking insane.
And enhance social skills. And as the Harvard Graduate School of Education recently reported, schools with robust family engagement had significantly lower rates of chronic absenteeism. Chronic absenteeism, also known as truancy, describes students who miss 10% or more of the school year, about 18 days or a little more than 3 weeks. Chronic absenteeism has emerged as a leading factor hindering the country's recovery from pandemic learning losses. Not only can the absent kids not learn when they aren't in school, their absences also disrupt students who do show up. Teachers struggle to keep their students.
Well, and two, when you have parents that are demeaning the school system and saying it's not even like going to get you anywhere, why would you expect children to be motivated to go to school? If their parents shit on the school system and say that it's not even worth your time, it's the same reason that like people have been complaining about young men not going to college enough. Like, why do you think that's true? There's a lot of factors, but one of those factors is that they're being told that their degree is going to be useless. They're being told that they're wasting their time. They're being told that they're putting themselves in debt. And instead of saying what you should do is be voting for things like free college education and then using that to get your feet wet to make yourself capable of getting something like an associate's degree, so that way you can determine whether or not it's something that will benefit you in your life, or maybe even like a trade skill. By the way, I'm not just for 2 years of college. I'm for 2 years of free college, and I'm for 2 years of free trade school. I think that should be up to the person to decide. You want to be a plumber? Great. You want to be a carpenter? Great. If you want to go to school and learn about like music exploration and use your 2 years for that, great. In my opinion, it should just be readily available. A more intelligent society is a better society. As we've seen, it can go downhill quickly. But if you think that it's not playing a role to discourage young people from going to college, and then you use statistics like, look at all these young people that aren't going to college, it's because college sucks. No, it's because you're saying college sucks. You've literally been telling them forever that the school system sucks, and then you're like, I don't know why they don't go to school. It's the school system's fault. I think people need to go back to school.
And students who see their peers treating class as optional are more likely to take the same approach. One study found that when 10% of students' classmates
trade
are
school
absent
and
on a
college.
given
I think
day,
people should be allowed to pick
present is significantly more likely to skip school the following day. Attendance numbers are improving, but not fast enough to recover all the lost ground. Recent counts estimate chronic absenteeism rates remain 75% higher than they were before the pandemic. Experts interpret this to mean that habits and norms around school attendance have been severely disrupted. To put it simply, for many families, the relationship with school has become optional. The habit of daily attendance, as well as the trust of many families, was shattered during the COVID closures. Remote and hybrid learning, relaxed grading and attendance policies, and the social mandate to keep kids home at the slightest sign of illness rewrote our expectations around school.
Yeah, and see, this isn't like tilted in one way or another. She's just pointing out that even the things that were done during the pandemic, it's just being a critical thinker. It's saying that things that are done during the pandemic, whether or not you agreed with them or not, still had this negative effect. And that's like why I like watching videos by people like Legia, is because this isn't about politics. This is about people. You're talking about the fact that during COVID, we went through some things that were really difficult, and there's a certain subsect of our society that wants to act like it didn't happen at all. When you act like it didn't happen at all, it makes it really difficult to address the things that did happen, that did for sure cause some type of breakup of our schedule, of the way that we do things. And, you know, when it comes to what happened with COVID, like, we try to make the best out of a really bad situation, but that doesn't mean that everything that we did was right. I've criticized the government for the way that they communicated mask and PPE mandates. I've criticized the government for openly talking about, you know, certain things that were misconstrued and now have become, you know, mainstream. When I hear people talk about COVID vaccine passports and shit like that, it's like, I never encountered a single thing that had anything to do with me having to walk around with my passport. But because some dipshit openly talked about it in a way to make it seem as though that might be something that we have to do, now it's became this mainstream thing where it's like, that's what happened. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Didn't happen. But I get it that you're upset that it did. So I like that she's talking about this here. It is very important to talk about the way that our schedules got broken up during a very difficult time and how that has impacted the mental health of not only children, but the parents as well. And, you know, like my poor wife had to stay home. She had to quit her job and stay home with the children, and she had to educate them, which gives you an appreciation for all the teachers out there that normally have to do that. But at the same time, it impacted poorly my children's education, and it impacted poorly my wife's mental health. And these are things that, like I said, I think my biggest problem with the way that Trump supporters go about wanting to deal with the current issues in our society is that they're so basic that it drives me up a fucking wall. These are very complex, complicated issues that, though they can have some solutions that can be basic, they most of the time need to be discussed in a nuanced way to get to a point where you can determine what that solution is. So when we talk about something like the educational system and you have somebody on the right that wants to say things like, well, we just need to disband the Department of Education, it's not that simple. It isn't just we disband the Department of Education and then everybody gets smarter. No, you have to put in work after the fact. That's like saying, I don't like living in this place because it's dirty, so I burnt down the house. Now I'm just standing here staring at a burnt down house. Well, mission accomplished. Well, yeah, there's no dirty house anymore, but there's also no fucking house. It doesn't solve the problem. And I think what she's getting to here is saying that, like, there's lots of factors that are causing our educational system to fail. And we're not making it any better by trying to dismantle it.
School. And today, since many teachers are still required to post coursework online, families incorrectly believe that students are keeping up even when they aren't showing up. The root causes of chronic absenteeism are vast. Poverty, illness, a lack of childcare and social services, transportation challenges, and the youth mental health crisis have all contributed to the problem.
Mere details.
Chronic absenteeism often leads to learning loss, which creates anxiety, which generates avoidance, which leads to absences and more learning loss. Studies show that poor attendance influences whether a student is able to read proficiently by the end of third grade. For ninth graders, each week of absences per semester is connected to a more than 20 percentage point decline in the probability of graduating from high school. The legal term truancy has been largely abandoned because experts agree that punitive responses to chronic absences only cause further damage to the relationship between students, families, and schools. Instead of having parents jailed for failing to get their kids to school, districts have been experimenting with alternative methods to reduce chronic absenteeism, including...
Yeah, and this is a problem our society struggles really hard with, and that is they punish instead of incentivize. And there is even for me, obviously, there's a bar where I think that punishment is necessary. But as a person that has managed people for 20 years, I can tell you that I have garnered greater results by incentivizing people to do better than I have ever gotten from anybody that I just punished. There's very rare instances in my career where punishing people in a like adverse way, not just like admonishing or criticizing, I mean like literally punishing people, ever worked out to a benefit. Almost every person I've ever been forced to punish ended up in a termination. Almost every time. I can't think of like off the top of my head one time where I punished somebody, like legitimately harshly punished somebody and had them do well. But I have had multiple occasions where I've had somebody that isn't doing things correctly that I incentivize to do better. So like if you have somebody that's a closer that doesn't do a good job of closing, rather than saying something like, well, if you don't get better at closing, then I'll have to fire you. Instead, I say, if you do well enough, I can get you a raise. Because if you're capable of closing and you're doing it well, then I can ask for more money for you because you become more valuable. So like for me, I've always taken the attitude that I don't get paid to do the work. I do the work and then I get paid, right? And that's good for me because I already have that type of mentality. But because most people don't have that mentality, instead they want to be paid to do the work, you have to incentivize them. So you have to make sure they understand that if they are doing something, eventually there's some type of carrot, some type of reason for why they should get better at things. And if that reason is, well, if you don't, I'll just fire you, well, then you're probably just going to never end up making that person better. You're just going to end up punishing them. You're going to end up firing them. At least that's been my anecdotal experience.
Laundry rooms at school to accommodate students who are embarrassed to show up in unwashed clothes, pairing each chronically absent student with an adult mentor at school, providing free breakfast, and more. Private companies have also popped up to bridge the gap, deploying the gentlest possible version of truancy officers to check in on families and work with them to create and enact plans that will get their kids back in the classroom.
Yeah, I had bad truancy problems when I was a kid. So my freshman year, I think I went to school maybe like the first month or 2 months, and then I dropped out and skipped. And then I was forced back in my sophomore year. I went to school for maybe like a month or two, got myself kicked out, got in trouble, ended up on probation. Truancy while on probation was a breaking of my probation. At that point, I had to sit down with my probation officer. She was going to send me to CYA, California Youth Authorities. And at that time, that didn't do anything to change my mentality. In fact, the thing that saved me was I had certain teachers that reached out and said that they would come to my house, and they said, what if we came to you instead of you came to us? And because of those teachers, because they provided a middle ground that I could work with, I graduated high school. I graduated high school at, I think, a 3.65 GPA. I think 4.0 was a A back then, and I think I had a 3.65 or 3.66. So I graduated with a really good GPA, but the only way that I was capable of doing that was not because I was threatened with punishments. I just kept doing the same bad shit over and over again, but because somebody reached out to me and said, I think you're very intelligent and I think that you could do really well, but maybe this environment that you're currently existing in doesn't exactly support that. So what if we came to you? And I had 2 or 3 teachers that participated in homeschooling me. One of them used to actually drive me to a friend of mine's house every weekend. Really cool teacher, and she was the librarian. But if it wasn't for those people and them doing things that were proactive and helping, I probably would have ended up in prison, to be honest with you, because I was doing enough things back then that were leading me down a certain route that, there was lots of stuff when I was really young that I did that could have got me put in jail and potentially in prison. And then I would have just continued down that path. I would not have gotten better if those people hadn't reached out. And then I realized once I graduated high school, and then there was a really big, there's a couple things that happened in my life that were really big. And they were really traumatic for people around me. And I saw how bad they were. And that's when I made the decision to move out of the area that I was living in. Once I was out of the area and I learned that, I could provide for myself by, getting a job. And I started to be rewarded by making money and having a place to live and supported by my friends and certain people in my family. Once those things happened, that's when I started to recognize my own worth. And then once I got into things that really leaned into my strengths and didn't concentrate so much on my weaknesses or try to punish them out of me. Once I understood those things, then I started doing better and better. And I got to a point where now, obviously I have my own thing. I own my own house. I have a great family. I have 2 wonderful children. I don't have any debt other than my home. And that's all because people supported me. It's not because people punished me. The punishment portion of my life never changed anything about me. If it did anything, it made me better about doing bad things and not getting caught at them. That was the only thing that punishing me ever did. Punishing me made me very good at doing those things and just not getting caught at them.
Unfortunately, getting students to show up for school is just the first battle, because it turns out that even after they're in the door, getting them to sit down, shut up, and actually learn something can feel like going into battle. In 2023, more than 70% of educators
do any
reported
of
that
my
students
employees
are
watch the show?
misbehaving
On
more
occasion
now
they do.
than they did before the pandemic.
Not very
the
often.
kids are not all right.
I don't
and honestly, if I
encourage
were in
it.
their
Let's just
shoes,
say that.
I wouldn't be either. Growing up sucks. Your brain doesn't work right yet. It's mostly mush. Your body won't stop changing. You're trying to figure out social norms and who you are as a person, and you're constantly being
Yeah, I think Lee just made her point. Let's watch something a little bit more interesting. But I give like that's like I said, I like that take because it's a lot more of a critical thinking take and not just a politically fiery take. It's not left bad or right bad because it's more of a education could be better if. And I think that there should be more of that. That's why I'm trying to concentrate more on my videos that I'm making being better production and being more insightful, because I think that currently where we're at with most of these like really politically charged issues in our society is this is bad because the left, or this is bad because the right. And I think that there needs to be more discussion that's more nuanced on why things are bad, that don't specifically have to be laid at the feet of one, party or the other before it begins to get solved, right? Like, we just need to be able to say to ourselves, I don't give a fuck what side you're on. If there's an issue, we should all be in agreement that it needs to be fixed. I think there are things that kind of cross the parties. I think that we have like really small things that annoy the fuck out of us when we try to talk to each other about them, and that lead to like bad conversations. Like, I've had conversations with specifically people in my chat on the right that say that they dislike what's going on the border. I agree that there are issues on the border, but I also disagree with removing undocumented people from our society when those people are propping up the very economy that people are complaining is bad. You can take a situation that is bad and make it worse. And I think that what people are doing is when they don't get like their entire opinion being agreed to, they choose to say, well, okay, once again, I'd rather just burn down the whole house than have anything that you believe as a part of this be correct. So when it comes to something like immigration, it's like I could agree with a lot of things, and there are going to be certain things I disagree with. And if I disagree with certain things and that shuts down the conversation, then there is no conversation. And I think that really America is bobbing between extremes. And I do think that Donald Trump is a reaction to an extreme. I think that Donald Trump is an extreme. And I think that hopefully over the next 4 years, things aren't bad. Like, first of all, let me just say that, because that needs to be everybody's hope, is that over the next 4 years, things aren't bad. But what I see happening are things that legitimately could be really bad for America. And if those things do happen, then the hope is that the positive that is taken from that is that that's not something we want. But also the hope is that we don't snap all the way back to the other edge of it, to the point where we say something along the lines of, we need to do everything the exact opposite and never do anything towards the middle. In my opinion, and I lean left more with my political opinion, so this is going to be biased to my opinions, but I think that being left middle is the best route for America, but I don't think that being left middle will win a presidency for the left. I think at this point, our societies have moved so far into the extremes that if the left doesn't lean really hard into its more extreme side, then it can't fight against people like Donald Trump. And that's a problem. That's an issue. That's something that has to be figured out. Later, Perry. Appreciate you, Perry.
He is a Nazi. I mean, full-blown self-avowed
Nick Fuentes.
Nazi. Like, he loves Hitler. Quote, unquote, I love Hitler. That's what he says. Anyway, I want to talk about him because he got himself in some hot water, got doxxed.
I'm all for
woman
four
showed up
parties
to his
nowadays.
house
That's the thing I'm on right now.
I want to talk about the whole thing. Let me tell you why he's facing criticism at this moment, aside from the fact that he's a Nazi. After Trump won, he started a meme, your body, my choice. Your body, my choice. And he went out there on air.
And this is actually directly, you can link this to that polarization, because people had the right idea when they said mainstream media is using, you know, the populace to make money off of and to drag you back and forth between the parties and creating conflict. I think that where I disagree with most people is they think it's for like nefarious reasons, when I think it's for literally just money, which are nefarious, but not for the same reasons, right? Like, I think where I diverge from the conspiracy theorists is where they think things like, this is all just to like kill humanity and eliminate people and population control and all that stuff. And I'm like, no, I think it's much simpler than that. I think it's just capitalism. Capitalism is you do what makes you money. Now, I'm with them when they said things like, you know, CNN or Fox News or MSNBC or Newsmax or News Nation, whatever you want to talk about. All of these people are pushing forward like rhetoric that's really like hyper polarized, because that's what the people want to watch, and therefore they make money off of it. So the higher their ratings, the better their financials are. Where I disagree is that they think that going to alternative media sources is somehow better. And then they watch somebody like Nick Fuentes thinking, you know, like, oh, this guy's giving me the sauce. This is like the cold, hard truth. And the reality is that alternative media is just mainstream media light. And the only reason it's mainstream media light is because they haven't started to make enough money yet. But they are starting to make enough money. And so that's why now you have the same polarization that you saw in mainstream media is now you're finding within alternative media, because once again, they have audience capture. They know the type of person that has clicked on a video. So if you get a video that has 250, 300,000 likes or views, you know, oh, that's my audience. Now I'm going to try to capture that audience by doing more videos that appeal to that crowd. And that's why, like I said, for me, you can look at what I've done. I chose to make certain videos. And now, even though those videos get, you know, 100,000, 50,000, 200,000 views, it's not what I'm interested in. And so now I'm moving away from that type of content, because now I want to make other content. That means that I am going to have to deal with the fact that I'm probably going to spend 20, 30, 40 hours making a video. I'm going to put it out on YouTube and it's going to get 100 views. You know, I have to deal with that. But because that's where I stand on what the type of content I want to make should look like, that is what's going to happen. Now, if I wanted to, I could choose to just use audience capture, and I could say, okay, just keep, you know, having these crazy titles, keep, you know, coming on and saying, look at this stupid shit that Joe Rogan said, and make videos out of that, and then I could get thousands and thousands of views. That is what alternative media is now. Nick Fuentes is alternative media.
And just repeated it over and over and over and talked about how great it is that Trump won and now I control women's bodies. Blah, 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 blah. You know, women did not take kindly to that, obviously. So let's,
I love his live streams.
Listen to him
Cheyenne.
and see what he has to say here. Yeah, this one is immediate. I think this is the live stream.
Adam, there are more choices. Yeah,
the election. So it's like November 5th, November 6th, somewhere in there.
Feel when we control your bodies. Hey, we control your bodies. Guess what? Guys win again, okay? Men win again. And yes, we control your bodies.
And, you know, I saw a very good post on this, because enough people will go, well, he's just trolling. He's just making jokes. The problem isn't, well, the problem is that he's making these jokes. But when you see Fuentes post something on Twitter that says, your body, my choice, the problem is that it has 40,000 reposts. It has 240,000 likes. It has 6,000 comments on it of people saying fucked up shit about women. If you think that there is nobody out there that watches Nick Fuentes say these things and doesn't believe that what he's saying is true, you are not paying attention. There is a sect of our society that does not get what he's claiming is his shtick. Now, I think Nick Fuentes is an idiot. I think Nick Fuentes recognizes that he can grift off of lonely young men. I think he's a terrible person. I think he's a shitty human being. But if you were to say to me, do I think that some of the things that he says on purpose because he knows that it just gets a rise out of people and then he can make money off it? Of course I agree with that. I don't believe that, a lot of these people 100% believe the things that they say. But that doesn't in any way delegitimize the fact that people should be concerned that this is becoming a popular thing to do. And it's mostly on the right. But like I said before, when you have political tactics that are used by one group of people, don't be surprised when you start to see people on the other side of the aisle use those same tactics. So for people that are MAGA Republicans, when you start to see left-wing people get on stream and start calling you fucking garbage and start saying, like that you're, doing things in a conspiracy type of manner, like they make up conspiracies about you, don't be surprised, because that's the way that these things work. When people see somebody do something and it works, they then copy it and use it for their own. And when you have a space that is not currently occupied with that type of thing, then it's even easier to do. So it's just not something that should be encouraged, in my opinion.
I'm your Republican congressman. Hi, I'm your Republican congressman. It's your body, my choice.
Yeah, and young people are real problem for that. Yeah.
Men win again.
They're still learning how to be a fucking human being.
Never be a female president. Never.
Well, like I said, if it makes you feel better, all this gloating led to some
by
serious
and that's
backlash,
my problem with MAGA, Adam.
There will never be a female president, ever. It's over. Glass ceiling? Dude, it's a ceiling made of bricks. You will never break it. Your stupid face keeps hitting the brick ceiling.
Well, I appreciate that he's admitting that there is a glass ceiling. I appreciate that he recognizes that there is systemic oppression of women, at the very least, right? But he doesn't.
And just really, honestly, there's nothing really funny, Like, you can have all these dipshits that are like, he's just making jokes, but it's like, what's the joke? Like, there's a certain point. I will laugh at a lot of stuff. I have a pretty dark sense of humor. I mean, you guys have heard me. I make pretty bad jokes. Like, what's the humor? It's not humor. It's literally, you were bullied, and now you get to watch other people be bullied, and you don't think it's funny. You like it. It feels good for you. You're like, somebody else is finally taking the short end of the stick that I've been taking this whole time. And that is something to me that will never appeal to me. Like, you can make jokes about gingers, and I think it's funny, right? Like, I love ginger jokes. I make jokes about myself all the time. But if you were to just walk up to, somebody and just be like, fuck gingers, you're all pieces of shit. There's not a ginger that's ever done anything good in their life. You're all fucking terrible human beings. I hope you all die. Like, whatever. Like, I wouldn't be like, wow, that's funny because I like making fun of myself and I like making fun of gingers, so I must find that amusing. I would be like, no, you're literally just being an asshole. That's not funny. You're just being an asshole. It's not a funny joke.
He doesn't care, of course. He wants there to be systemic oppression and control, obviously. He met with Donald Trump a while back. If you don't remember, he and Kanye West had dinner with Trump after Kanye went on this gigantic tirade about Jews. I mean, it was crazy stuff.
We will keep you down forever. You will never control your own bodies. You will never be the president of the global empire. Never gonna happen, sweetie. Your body, our choice.
Anyway, yeah, that got him in some hot water. People did not like that. They doxed his address, and somebody showed up.
Hi. Oh my God, what are you doing? Out of here.
Okay, so the phone seems to be in his house.
What fucking weird shit is this? Like, that's a psycho house. Why are all the lights off? What the fuck is going on in here?
How did she get that back?
How
did she get the phone back? Did he open it and throw it out? I don't know exactly where he is now. I heard.
I'm no liar, but I don't think anything he did there was legal. People are allowed to knock on your... Yeah, you're not allowed to mace people for knocking on your door. I mean, if that was true, I'd do it all the time. I don't know what state he lives in, though. Maybe in Florida, you can mace people for knocking on your door.
I heard that he was staying with his parents at this point. I'm not sure. Anyway, my address was doxed once because I reported a teacher for telling students that she doesn't agree with people that are gay or trans. She just doesn't agree with it. She thinks it's wrong, and so on and so forth. Anyway, I reported her, and they wrote a cease and desist letter, basically, the FFRF did. And it just, it went downhill from there. They doxed me on some Facebook page. I mean, a lot of people were paying attention to what was going on at the time. I did not ask for any money. I asked for none. And people got my PayPal address from, like, my description and donated mad to me. And I appreciated that so much.
That's awesome.
It actually helped a lot because I needed to move, like, immediately. And I had planned on moving. My lease was coming to an end, and I was ready to go, and I was packing my things and everything, but I had to move it up by like a month. And moving at all is crazy expensive, like insanely expensive. So all the donations I got, it just showed how much the community cares. It was just
That's
incredible.
Awesome.
But anyway, it was scary to have my name doxxed. There's a Facebook page that I forget what it's called, Team Ashworth or something. It was a teacher's name. It had 1,800 people on this Facebook page in a town of 3,500. So effectively half of the town was on this Facebook page dedicated to doxing me and attacking me, and it was nuts. Like I would just be sitting there at my desk in my living room. Every single car that passed honked. And it's just a honk, but that's disturbing.
Son of a bitch.
You're hearing this, a car passing once every 3 or 4 minutes.
Look at that big ginger cat.
Every 3 or 4 minutes, a car passes and honks their horn. They're just letting you know that they're there, and they know that you are there, and that they're not happy with you. I mean, it's real scary. So, to get back to the point here, Nick Fuentes, his address was doxed, much like mine was. Although, I was defending separation of church and state. He is just being a shithead. So, slightly different situations, I suppose. His address is doxed, and I'm sure he's getting the honks, too. Like, that's the first thing, is the honks. That's where it starts. And the phone calls, they
There's
look
some real
you up,
PTSD
and they find your
going
phone
on
number
right
and
here.
everything else. I guess he came prepared with the pepper spray and chose to just pepper spray somebody. Absolutely wild. I mean...
I would have pepper sprayed him back.
I don't think that anybody should be going up to his door anyway, in my personal opinion. They're on his private property now. So whatever happens. And that is one good reason why you should not be on his property. Because, you're on his turf now. Like, you are in danger more than if you were just on the street. Do not go up to his house. So anyway, yeah, this has got to be a scary experience for him, is the point. It has to be a scary experience because I know what it's like. Like, I don't justify any kind of violence or anything like that, but he struck fear in the hearts of countless people when he said that. Yeah. Your body, my choice. And now he's getting a taste of that
he also
fear.
encouraged other people
limited
to do it.
Sympathy, as I said. In this one, he kind of quadruples down and explains why he feels the way he feels. And it sounds like hyperbole.
It's
Garfield? What he's about to say.
Yeah.
It's not. He really feels this way.
So I am now going viral on TikTok, Twitter, Google search trends for my very funny clip on my election night stream.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to say on YouTube what I think should happen to him, so.
In a moment of exuberance and jubilation, I excitedly declared that since Donald Trump became the president, women's bodies are now under our control. And I mean that. I said it's their body, but it is our choice. And politically, I'm obsessed with controlling women's bodies.
He's saying it like it's sarcasm, but it's actually not sarcasm. If you know anything about Nick Fuentes, you'll know that this is real. Like I said, full-blown Nazi. Like Hitler-loving
as fuck.
Nazi. Also,
there's
I'm
no
sure
way anybody's friends with this guy.
Say it, but I'm going to anyway. I think it's pretty clear that Your Body, My Choice has sexual undertones. Is that?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a polite way to say this. It has undertones of basically.
I'm going to tell them what they're allowed to do with them. It's my decision. We as males, we as men control their bodies. They have no say in the matter, and that comes to abortion as well as every other issue. Henceforth, men will be controlling what you eat, what you wear.
You know what? Let me just jump to the end of this clip so that you understand why I say this isn't sarcasm.
And this is subject to the law according to Project 2025.
That's pretty clear, right? This is not a joke.
Yeah.
What you eat, what you wear, whether you can have an abortion, what your hair looks like, when and whether you can cut your hair will be controlling how much.
And see, it's like, it's that way of saying, like, this is the kind of shit, like I said, it makes me want to say things I'm not allowed to say on YouTube. When he's saying this, and you have something like Project 2025, and you have these very strange individuals that are involved in the Heritage Foundation, like, I'm not a female. I'm not a woman. And I heard the other day, who was it? It was Theo Vaughn say this. He said, to me, it's like whoever gets in office, nothing changes for me. And yeah, as a male, specifically as a white male, nothing really changes. Doesn't matter who's in office. That is literally why it's called white privilege. If you are a female and somebody is linked to a platform that takes away your rights, that puts you in a position as a secondary human being, that potentially, makes it unsafe for you to, get pregnant and have like an ectopic pregnancy or something like that, you could die. When you have those risks and somebody gets put into the office, the highest office in the nation, that affects you. That's when you recognize that something affects you. This is something that people that live in marginalized communities have to be concerned about. This is things that LGBT people have to be concerned about. These are things that women have to be concerned about. But when you are a rich white male like Theo is, I'm a middle class, upper middle class white male, there's not a lot that affects me. There's not, it affects the people I love. That's who it affects. So when he's saying things like this, the real insidious thing is that you're making jokes as a guy who's probably not touched by anything, so you have no empathy for whatever is going to happen because your life's not going to change. So then you're making jokes at the expense of people that legitimately feel like they could get harmed or that things could go badly for them over the next 4 years. There's nothing that's funny about this. And the type of people that watch this type of content are literally garbage human beings. And there are things that I'd like to say about them that I'm not allowed to say on YouTube. Just going to say that.
How much makeup you wear, what you do with your nails.
Yeah, he's a buffoon and
trolling,
controlling
who you have sex with. We'll be controlling where you live and where you go, what time you go to bed. We're going to be controlling all of that. And this is subject to the law according to Project 2025.
There you go. This is real. He's not joking. That is what he intends. That in his ideal world, that is what would happen. Again, Nazi, Hitler lover. Look, I feel like I have to prove that. Even though most people have probably heard of him, let me just show one clip. Fuentes went on Alex Jones with Kanye West.
With Kanye. This is like one of the fucking craziest
Trump.
videos.
I think it was after this. Yeah. I believe it was.
Yeah, you know how bad this is? Because at one point, Alex Jones in this video is like, well, I don't really agree with that, but Like Kanye's going off about Hitler, and Nick Fuentes is like nodding along, and Alex Jones is like, "Well, I mean, I don't know if like I said children in a shooting were crisis actors, but I don't know if I can agree with that."
After they met with Alex Jones, they had dinner with Trump, Kanye West, and Nick Fuentes. Fuentes on the right here, and Kanye West under this black mask. I guess he didn't want what he's about to say tied to his image.
Uniform's amazing. But I mean, just because you're in love with the design, you're a designer. Can we just kind of say like you like the uniforms, but that's about it?
No, there's a lot of things that I love about Hitler. A lot of things.
Look at this dude on the right, bobbing his head. Yeah, gotta love Hitler. I mean, what is wrong with you? I feel like, I've done so much research into the Nazis recently because I wrote a book about it.
I don't know either one. I don't know if he's married or not.
OwenMorgan.com. You can get a signed copy. Anyway,
God, I can't imagine.
Hitler was not insane. He was 100% in his right mind. It's just that his mind was poisoned with racism. Hitler was not the result of insanity. I cannot stress that enough. It was just the end result of what we have in the United States with racism. If it gets worse and worse and worse and worse, its eventual end is Nazi Germany. Now, you could say we're not in Germany right now in the 30s or whatever. In the United States, that's not what it's like. Sure, absolutely, you're right. It's not. But we are going down that road on a smaller scale right now. Now, how far down the road are you willing to go?
Yeah, and that's the
pure,
question.
Unadulterated racism.
It's not Nazi Germany.
Nick
but
Fuentes seems to have realized that.
You're willing to let people like Nick Fuentes influence the culture to a point where it does. He seems to have realized that it wasn't just a nutcase doing nutcase things and hurting people just for the sake of it. He was trying to build out a perfect society. And for the record, Hitler was a big fan of American segregation laws. And I guarantee
used them as a model in Germany. I mean, I got that from a historical, factual book. This isn't like me being a left-winger or something. He really liked the anti-race mixing laws that existed at the time. The racial purity or whatever. He even said something to the effect of the Americans have their racial purity goals in line or somewhere in that vicinity. So anyway, Nick Fuentes seems to have realized all of that and is all in. He likes it. That's insane. Not to mention the fact that...
And like I said, the scary thing about that isn't that he chose to do that. It's that people have made him popular enough to be able to continue to do it. Like, it would be one thing if this was a dude just, like, screaming dumb shit on the corner, right? Like, you'd be like, whatever, fuck that guy. He's just crazy. He's fucking dumb. Whatever. The real problem is that he has garnered enough support for it to be something that he does all the time. This is his profession, his career. That's what's scary. Because it's one thing to like look at a person like that and just be like, dude, he's just a troll. Who gives a fuck? Like, he's just saying dumb shit. Just don't pay attention to him. But it's a whole nother thing when you have a group of people that are like, I don't know, I kind of like him. That's what the issue is. And like I said, like, there has to be, like, I'm not for censorship, and I'm not for laws that stop certain things, right? I'm for public shaming. I'm for mockery. And I think the real thing that should be done here is that people that are of good character, people that don't think that this is funny, should mock this person. They should make fun of him. They should shit on him. They should show everybody that he's a low-level human being that does not deserve to be a part of all the things that we do. And the way that you do that is by mocking him and avoiding him and shaming him and anybody that follows him. To be fucking honest with you, if you're a person that follows Nick Fuentes, you're a garbage human being. That's just me being honest.
Just check this picture out. This is Nazis in Columbus, Ohio. It's in Columbus, Ohio right now. Like 3 days ago or something. I have to imagine that these people
MTG
know
likes him though, right?
What Hitler stood for. They must, right? Because it isn't just about being absolutely insane. It's about racial purity. I have to imagine that these people have read about it and recognize that Hitler was not insane. He just wanted racial purity.
Well, and I think a lot of these people are looking like one of whose video was it? It's probably like Jordan Peterson or something that I was cruising past the other day. But it was humanity lacks meaning. And that's really one of the biggest issues that we have in our society right now, is that people don't have purpose. People continue to vote for things that allow them less time to do things. And then when the little bit of time that they do have, they waste like scrolling TikTok, right? So you never end up with any type of purpose. One of the things that we've talked about when it comes to like having work weeks that are lesser, like shorter time, is that people tend to do things that they like more often as far as a job goes when there's more elasticity to your schedule, when you're allowed to do things at different times and you're allowed to work around them. So like we talked about kids earlier, like when people are capable of spending more times in the lives of their kids, it gives them purpose. It makes them feel good because it feels like they're like accomplishing something by taking care of these children, helping them become better people. People that have more free time tend to participate in more hobbies, like, whether it's anything from, collecting certain stuff because that's what you're into, or doing certain things like creating art or creating music. Those things drive purpose. One of the reasons that I influenced my daughter to play drums was because I work with a lot of musicians. Working with a lot of musicians, you recognize that something that gives them purpose in their life is their music, because they continue to play their whole life. It's something that you never finish getting better at. And, it gives you something to focus on. For certain people that are big readers like myself, books give you purpose. And I think, I was just reading, I don't know if you guys have seen this recently, but Praz, who was the guy who founded the Fugees, was recently indicted on charges of being a Chinese spy, I believe is what it is, a foreign agent. And that's fucking weird, right? You're like, Praz from the Fugees? Why would he do that? You should read the story. In fact, I'm planning on making a video on it. But the story is really crazy. Because, by kind of happenstance, he ended up getting connected with certain people that ended up being connected to the Chinese government. And he got kind of pulled into this thing. And he talks about, he's like, I don't want to romanticize it, but, it was really interesting. He's like, I never thought I was doing anything wrong. I thought that, everything, it just kind of made my life more exciting. And I think that that's a lot of what people are doing nowadays. I think people are searching for meaning and purpose in their lives, and they're finding it in really bad places. When I read Joe Moore's book on infiltrating the Ku Klux Klan, you realize that a lot of these people join these white supremacist groups because they give them a goal. And it might seem like a laughable goal when you talk about it, when you say it out loud. When you say the white race is going to rise up and overtake the nation and make America a white Christian nationalist nation where people of color are third-tier human beings that have to do what white people tell them to do. All of that sounds like fucking insane. But A, we know it has happened before. And B, it doesn't really matter. Even if they can't accomplish the goal, they wholesale buy into this idea that it could happen, and it gives them purpose and meaning in their lives. Just like Praz becoming a foreign agent for God knows what fucking reason. And it's most likely because, I know this sounds weird, but because he was bored. Because he'd accomplished so much in music. He had tons of money. He had legit, successful businesses. And at that point, you're just trying to figure out why the fuck you're here still. And it fills a void for these people, in my opinion. And I think somebody like Nick Fuentes is just a catalyst towards people moving into nefarious positions in groups that can lead to legitimately a bad outcome, a negative outcome. And that's why, even though, for the most part, most people go, ignore him, he's just a troll. I actually think that he actually does harm to society. I think people like him, whether they're American or European or whatever, I think those types of people do harm to society, because in many ways there's a lot of people out there looking for purpose that get emboldened to join groups that they wouldn't normally join, because they think, oh, well, it just might be, that's something that I could be interested in. And that's fucking scary.
And that's what they're striving for. I mean, it is obscene to wave a swastika flag around today. You have to really know what you're doing
he has lots
to do
of money
something
right
like
now.
that, it seems to me. To have the Apple bag to do some like that. Absolutely wild, man. Anyway, let's talk more about Nick Fuentes. Let's get a better kind of feel for where Nick Fuentes stands on the issue of women and how they should be treated in the United States. By the way, as far as I can tell, I think this is my low stakes conspiracy. I personally believe that he's gay. He
probably
accidentally played some gay adult entertainment at the end of a live stream by mistake. I guess not realizing he was still streaming. I covered it a while back if you want to find that.
I remember that.
It's pretty funny. He's a hard right Catholic. Doesn't believe in race mixing, doesn't believe in gay people or any of that stuff. And as far as I know, he's never had a girlfriend. He is an incel. Actually, he's a volcel. He's voluntarily celibate. Anyway, that's kind of the perspective he's coming at these women's issues from. So buckle up.
Sweet.
I'm sorry, one more thing. Q says we're all the same race, human race. Yeah, there are no different races like that. Like, race is a designation that was created by
it's a societal,
people and is meaningless. Like, oh my God, what were the designations forever ago? Lloyd, I think, was for Asians, and then what were they? Hold on. So I'm gonna have to say this word. I will blank it out if you know it's improper. But Lloyd, Caucasoid, and Negroid races. Those are the original races, the things that people
Mongolian,
believed
Caucasian,
in,
and
all the way
Negro.
back in I don't know, when was this? It's probably
pre-colonialism,
200 years ago. I'm assuming. I'm guessing.
Oh no,
1870. Yeah, this is 1870 when they believed in
mid-colonialism.
this stuff. So anyway, the racial distinctions that we have today are equally as valid as these.
Yeah.
In Caucasoid and
it's
stuff.
Just
and
it's
others.
just us trying to define things.
Or Australoids, I guess, for
We're
Australians,
all just human
Australoids.
beings.
And Melanochroi? I'm not even sure. Anyway, it's made up. It's fictitious. We are one race. We are the human race. Anyway, let's listen to Nick Fuentes.
Yeah,
here.
right, Adam.
For allowing women to go out into the society and lie and bear.
By talking about him, what's happening, Trent? By talking about him, aren't we giving him the attention he's after? I think that there's, like I said, so I don't know how long you've been here, Trent, but I think there's value in showing it and mocking it. I do not think that there is value in... So I know that I go off on tangents, so sometimes this might seem confusing, but I don't think that there's any value in discussing his ideals as though they're like serious. I don't think that that's that there's value in it, but I do think that it should be mocked. So, like the way that I look at it is, the people that are going to be watching me making fun of him and talking shit about him are not people that are going to they're not going to be watching it and be like, oh man, like now I'm going to go watch Nick Fuentes, right? Now, mind you, there is like a monetary aspect to it. Whereas if you're hate watching Nick Fuentes, you are giving him money. It's one of the reasons I chose to stop going on X, right? Like, I had to ask myself, like, whether or not, like, I felt good about saying that America is an oligarchy and that the billionaires getting involved in our government the way they've always been, but more out front. If I'm supporting a ultra wealthy person by being on their platform and doing things on their platform and giving them money, then am I actually speaking out against the problem in the right way? And I don't think I am. So that's why I chose to stop using X, because I didn't feel that it was appropriate for me to say that a person is unduly influencing our government, being a billionaire, being an oligarch, and then still giving him money. So if you're hate watching Nick Fuentes videos, you in some way are still contributing to his success. So like, I don't go and watch Nick Fuentes videos and hate watch, right? Like, this is probably like the second or third time I've watched somebody talk about him. I do think that there is value in mocking him, though. I think that you should. I think there is something to be said about intelligent people, and maybe I'm not the right person for it, but intelligent or funny people showing this to people and then like kind of, you know, not dissecting it, because like I said, it doesn't need to be debated, but dissecting it in like a humorous manner to just like mock it and shame it. I believe that mocking and shame can be used in the correct manner. I do believe there are incorrect manners to do it, but I do think that mocking and shame are essentially very important control methods for humanity. And like I said, they can be used for nefarious reasons, but they can also be used for really good reasons. And the good reason would be to show that something is really just kind of stupid.
False witness and cast spells and worship minerals and rocks.
Yeah. What's that, Nardi?
We're allowing women to do these things. Freedom. We're giving people freedom is what he's saying. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a core value of America.
And women are out there naked and they're killing babies and they're getting to be 300 pounds and they get in your face and we can't do anything about it. You can't hit these people.
Okay.
You can't punch them. They don't arrest them. And basically they're taking over the culture on social media. I said, what happened to the good old days 1,000 years ago when people like this, instead of arguing them or saying, hey, listen, darling, everything's okay, they would dunk them in the river or burn them alive. I said, this is the kind of thing that...
And really what he's doing is he's doing Rush Limbaugh, right? Like, he just took Rush Limbaugh to a whole nother level. What Reagan saw in right-wing news media that he knew he could exploit by getting rid of the fairness doctrine was these kind of hyperbolic media personalities that could say things that people really shouldn't believe, but they will because they want somebody to agree with them. And they have fucking crazy ass thoughts. Like, that's really what he's doing, and it's really sad that so many people are willing to give them their $5.
That we need to see more of is burning them alive a little bit more.
I thought he was going to say burning them alive a little bit, and I was like, that's kind of...
Yeah, but Trent, like that's why like when I talk to you or Adam, Trent, you guys have made me more careful about my language, that I've constantly said this, is that when I'm talking about MAGA, I'm very specific about MAGA. Because MAGA, in my opinion, is not conservative values. MAGA is a strange mixture of a lot of weird stuff that the more and more I get into this, the more and more I research like the different reasonings for why I think MAGA is what it is. Like, I just got into this real deep part about techno-libertarianism, and that's part of my new video that's coming out. But techno-libertarianism, where the left-wing hippie culture and not right-wing, but the left-wing hippie culture and the more left-wing establishment culture that was in Silicon Valley at the time, they crossed over and created this like techno-libertarianism. That's why Steve Jobs, during like a commencement speech for, I think it was Harvard, called the Good Earth Catalog the Bible of the left. And there's these real mixtures of those types of people that are now really active in MAGA. So like when I talk about MAGA, I'm also talking about a lot of ex-left-wing people that were Bernie supporters, people that were anti-vax, people that are anti-big pharma, and then this weird kind of tech libertarian that wants to be able to do whatever they want with their money and not be inhibited by government regulations. So that really appealed to the anti-government left-wing hippie and created this kind of crossover. So like when we see what you're talking about, like how he's not allowed in real, like, actual conservative circles. Like, I agree with you, right? I don't believe that any, like Mike Pence isn't going to look at this guy, regardless of the fact that he might believe some of the things that he believes. He's not going to look at him as a serious human being and, like, accept him in his group. Dick Cheney, George Bush Sr., all of them would look at this guy and, like, roll their eyes and be like, fuck this guy. I think the real concern for me is how many conservatives are willing to play along to the MAGA rhetoric, because the further you get into MAGA, I think the further away from reality you get. And the further away from reality you get, the more you recognize that you can get away with doing things that when you're in normal society and people are mocking you or shaming you, or there are laws against certain things that you want to do, the more that you realize that doesn't apply while you're within MAGA, the more, like, I think absurd you become. I think your opinions become more absurd. I think your reality becomes twisted. I think your belief system becomes really, like, fragile, and you start to believe in things that are really, like, super conspiratorial, like the fact that, like, you know, people are trying to kill people, and, like, population control, and, like, things that, like, you might be able to have, like, a conversation about instead of just having a conversation to become, like, core values. So when I talk about MAGA, I don't specifically mean just right-wing people, because I actually believe that there are people that were of a sort left-wing people that are a part of MAGA now. What's happening, Paul? But it's one of those things where Trent could be right. I could accidentally give somebody way too much screen time just because I'm interested. Like, I think my channel, to be honest with you, probably would be better served not being political and instead be more about, like, analyzing, like, human behaviors and stuff, because that's really what I'm more into. It's what's made me, like, a good manager and a good leader, is my ability to, like, you know, like, look at people and see people and understand what makes them tick, and, you know, help them to be better at whatever job they're doing, because, you know, I can understand better what motivates them. And I can kind of turn that inverse and look at bad people or negative people, and also kind of, like, trace back, like, to a root cause or you know, symptoms that make them, like, kind of fall into these, like, cults and stuff like that. And so, like, that's why I, like, constantly try to be a person that says that, like, I don't claim a political party and stuff, like, I left-leaning values, but I prefer to look at these things from a point of view of, it's really, to me, not their specific political party that makes them these people. It is them and the things that they have in common with the other people within their group that binds them together. And I think that's the difference between MAGA and Democrats and Republicans, is that Democrats and Republicans, I think, tend to be bound together by like political values, but tend to be more diverse types of people. Whereas I think MAGA, it's more about people that genuinely don't have connections with outside people. They have connections with other MAGA people, and that's what makes them even, like, more of a tighter knit group and more loyal and supportive of Donald Trump.
Kind of an on or off situation, isn't it? Somebody says, where are these naked women? Yeah, tell me where these naked women are so that I can avoid them. I'd appreciate that.
I
no matter who you
them,
are,
but you can't.
There are
tell
times
me
it can be
are.
tough to be yourself when you have severe.
Taking women like this, and instead of hiring a lawyer for all this money and we're going to sue him for defamation, how about we go to the constable or whatever, we go to the police officer, the soldier stationed in the village, and say, hey, we got to burn her alive. Hey, this woman is worshiping rock.
And see, once again, there's nothing funny. Like, if you're a comedian and you're doing this as stand-up and you're trying to point out, like, how fucking bad this was that this happened in society, you could possibly make a joke out of this, right? But the very way in which he does this, it's almost like he doesn't believe this shit, but he understands that enough of his audience does, and that it's financially incentivizing him to continue to say things in this manner. And that's like, to be honest, it's like, it's sad. Not for him, but for society. Independent marijuana party, now me. I'm down with you guys making as many political parties as you guys want. I think that we should start, like, even though I'm a person that doesn't like think that really we should be involved in political parties, I think that we should just exhibit our own values. I'm totally down with watering down politics with like 1 million parties. I'm down with that. I mean, it can't get much worse. Anyways, what am I doing? Tomorrow's Turkey Day. Turkey and beer tomorrow, guys. If you celebrate Turkey and Beer Day, I want you guys to have fun. Enjoy. Try not to fight with your loved ones. Do your best. Or fight with your loved ones if that's what you're into. Me being the confrontational, aggressive person that I am, I like to fight with people, and then it's really weird for them because after I fight with them, I just go, so anyways, how was your day? There's like one other person that I've ever seen that has the ability to like turn that shit off like I do, and that's Destiny. Like, I've never seen another person other than Destiny where he'll like be arguing with a person and he's like, how are you saying that? It's fucking retarded. You can't possibly fucking believe that. Oh my God, you're fucking crazy. Are you kidding me right now? And then the person's like, well, yeah, I believe all this. And he goes, oh, okay. Anyways. Like, that's me. Like, to a T. Like, I will sit there and fucking call you an idiot. I will be like, the shit you believe is the dumbest shit ever. I can't believe that fucking anybody would believe the stupid shit you believe. And I'll go, anyways, like, so, did you guys see that Eagles game? It was pretty fucking crazy. Fuck Nick Sirianni. He should be fired. So, new video, I believe, comes out Sunday. Please watch it. I put so much fucking work into this, and I want to continue putting a lot of work into it and getting better at the video editing and stuff. It's me narrating, so you don't have to see my ugly ginger mug on there. It's about oligarchy, and it's about how Aristotle and Theodore Roosevelt both had some really good points of view on these things, and how I believe that the techno-libertarianism of Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and Jeff Bezos and potentially even Bill Gates, I'm throwing him in there because he's a billionaire and he likes technology, so I'm going to just guess he's into it. But how that is leading us to a point in society, a tipping point, towards real oligarchy that, in my opinion, as I've said before, Donald Trump, in my opinion, is not the main character. That people like Elon Musk are a much bigger issue for society if given the reins to do whatever they want as far as experimenting and doing what they want with technology and stuff, all while the lower middle class, and poverty-stricken are forced to go to work and build as robots, Like, that's my concern with society at this point. Idiocracy, not good for society, but definitely going to be entertaining, okay? Techno-libertarianism is not going to be entertaining, and it's also not going to be good for society, at least not for the lower half. I'm a big believer in the support of the middle class. I believe that the middle class is the most important class in America, and that the impoverished do better when the middle class is doing better. The wealthy do better when the middle class is doing better. And I believe that getting to a place where the middle class just becomes, well, it is the labor force, but is even tamped further down into the pigeonhole of being the labor class for America, while ultra wealthy people get to experiment and do whatever the fuck they want while they shoot rockets to Mars and put chips in your brains, and you just, smoke cigarettes till you die and build robots in factories. That's not the future I want. I'd rather go fucking idiocracy. I would rather live in a society where Ouch My Balls plays 24/7 on TV while people jerk off and eat out of a tube than live in a society where techno billionaires have enslaved the middle class and down, and you just work your entire life and don't get to experience any of the joys of art or entertainment or just fucking getting to have sex with your wife without Elon's chip being in your brain. So that's where I'm at. That's where we're going. I hope you guys like the video when it comes out. Hope you watch it on Sunday. Hope you guys have a good Turkey Day. Enjoy your Turkey Day. Next live stream will be Saturday. I will pop on Saturday. We'll have a live stream, probably midday. And then from this point on, live streams will be Saturday and Wednesday. Since we don't have a bunch of crazy shit to talk about, they'll mostly be just me rambling about psychology stuff and what I read about Aristotle. So be ready for that shit. I'm also working on probably doing like some gaming days. I keep saying that, but once I move my computer from upstairs down to downstairs, that's the gaming computer. Maybe we'll be able to like just hang out. You guys can, just talk to me instead of just talking about politics and all the sad shit that's happening nowadays. And we'll play some video games. You guys can watch me suck at video games because I'm an old man. All right, guys. Remember, guys, I love you guys. I mean that. I fucking literally mean that. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I definitely fucking mean that. Or else I wouldn't keep doing this. And I'll see you next time.